Chapter 538. How dare this brat try to kill me? How despicable! Then he looked at the red dragon worriedly, afraid that it would attack. The young man in the beast robe was even more terrified. He quickly curled up and shivered. He had tried to kill Lin Xian before, and was afraid that the other party would take revenge. The red dragon laughed. "Little worm, I know you two have a grudge, but it's impossible for you to use me to kill him. Ben Huang will not be used by others." Lin Xian sighed. The other party was not so easy to fool. "Little worm, do you have any other requests?" "Change it," the red dragon said. Hearing this, the black-robed man heaved a sigh of relief. Then he glared at Lin Xian with endless murderous intent in his eyes. "Forget it, let them disappear. I don't think you want so many people to know the secret of the dragon sword soul," Lin Xian said slowly. "That's right. Let them disappear then." The red dragon turned its head and revealed a sinister smile. The black-robed man's heart raced. He sensed the dragon's gaze and instantly turned into a black flame and fled into the distance. However, the next moment, the red dragon snorted coldly. Two rays of divine light shot out from its eyes and shot the black-robed man down. Roar! The black-robed man's body trembled and flew backward. He did not want to fall behind. Black flames rose from his body. His black robe was destroyed, and his body grew rapidly. In an instant, he turned into a black dragon that was 100 feet long. He roared at the sky, looking ferocious and terrifying. Boom! Black flames surged into the sky. The black dragon circled in the air, emitting a powerful aura. "Stop roaring. You're too weak." The red dragon said disdainfully, "I won't kill you today because you still have a trace of the dragon clan's bloodline. Get out of Ben Huang's way." Then the giant red dragon claw grabbed the black dragon in its hand. The black dragon struggled with all its might, but it was useless. The dark red dragon's eyes shone brightly. It pierced through the void and tore a terrifying black crack in the sky. Then the dark red dragon threw the black dragon into the crack. In the next moment, the spatial crack healed, and the sky became clear again. "All right, I've sent one away." The colossal dragon turned its head and stared at the 8 indigenous beings on the ground. Suddenly, the 8 martial artists trembled like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. "Forget it. Ben Huang is in a good mood today. I don't want to kill anyone. Scram!" Then he snorted coldly. 2 streams of dragon's breath were like heavenly pillars, blasting in all directions. In an instant, the 8 martial artists were blown away and disappeared into the horizon. Finally, the giant head stared at Lin Xian. "Little reptile, I've already done what you said. Now, hurry up and tell me the secret of the great dragon's sword spirit." The crimson dragon's voice was cold. "Don't try to play tricks, or I have hundreds of ways to make you regret being born into this world. Honorable Sir Dragon God, don't worry, I will never lie to you." Lin Xian smiled. "Humph, I don't think you would dare to." The dark red dragon snorted and extended its dragon claw. "Come on up." Lin Xian jumped up, raised his dragon claw, and moved to the dark red dragon's head. "Okay, now tell me." Lin Xian smiled. "Come closer. You have to be careful." The giant dragon did not believe that Lin Xian would play tricks. He lowered his head and slowly moved closer. In the next moment, a black, long sword appeared in front of Lin Xian. A strong hand reached out and pressed between the dark red dragon's eyebrows. Buzz! The air vibrated, and a devouring force that shook the heavens and earth appeared. "Ah, damn reptile, what did you do?" The dark red dragon roared. He extended his dragon claw, wanting to crush Lin Xian. However, the devouring sword was too terrifying. It frantically absorbed the energy in the dark red dragon's body. The sharp shroud was lifted halfway, then slowly fell down. "Kid, how dare you devour Ben Huang's power? You're overestimating yourself. Be careful not to explode." At first, the dark red dragon was still roaring, but soon he started screaming. That was because the devouring force was getting stronger and stronger. It was like a bottomless pit, madly devouring. "No, my power!" the dark red dragon screamed. "Damn it, stop. Let's talk. I'll agree to whatever conditions you have." However, Lin Xian did not respond. He only floated silently, watching everything coldly. In front of him, in the devouring sword, the strong hand was unusually steady. It did not change because of the dark red dragon's words. The dark red dragon roared angrily, instantly shattering the mountains within 10,000 miles. "Damn reptile! Die together with me if you dare! Ben Huang will not let you succeed." The dark red dragon was furious. However, in the next moment he started trembling. "No, my dragon essence! You can actually devour my dragon essence." The dark red dragon was afraid. Dragon essence was the foundation of his body. It was his purest energy. It was equivalent to a martial artist's blood essence. If it was gone, his vitality would be greatly damaged. "I was wrong. You're the boss. Let me go." The dark red dragon started to beg for mercy. "I don't want the dragon sword soul anymore. I'll give it to you." However, the devouring force was still in progress. This sword, could it be? The dark red dragon was alarmed as he seemed to recall a legend. "Damn it, I made a mistake this time." The dark red dragon cursed inwardly. Then he slowly closed his eyes and fainted. His body gradually shrank from 10,000 feet long to 1,000 feet, 100 feet, and finally to a meter long. With a plop, the dark red dragon, no, the snake, fell to the ground. The devouring sword slowly floated as the strong hand quickly retracted. Following that, a hearty voice sounded. "This stupid dragon's dragon essence is not bad. It actually allowed me to recover a portion of my strength." Lord Alcohol's voice sounded. "Xiao Xuanzi, get ready. Now, begin fusing with the dragon's sword soul." Upon hearing that, Lin Xian's body trembled. He adjusted himself to his peak state and nodded solemnly. In the next moment, the devouring sword surged, forming black vortexes around him. They quickly formed a mysterious and strange array formation. The array formation was complex and profound, making one dizzy just by looking at it. Lin Xian stood within it and consumed the white dragon soaring pill. He wore a 5-colored battle suit and was enveloped in true dragon chi. Then he circulated the dragon's sword intent and communicated with the dragon sword soul. Buzz! The dragon's sword soul was guided and landed on Lin Xian, quickly entering his body. Lin Xian's body trembled as a trace of pain appeared on his face. Countless vortexes spun around him, absorbing heaven and earth spirit chi and forming an inexplicable array formation on Lin Xian's body. "Xiao Xuanzi, this is all I can do for you. As for whether you can fuse with the dragon's sword soul, it will depend on your luck," Lord Alcohol said solemnly. Then, the devouring sword rushed into the sky, emitting a terrifying aura that once again intimidated the entire Lost Lands. In the Lost Lands, the trial warriors were once again pressed to the ground, unable to move. Many people were stunned as their bodies trembled. This was because the aura this time was even more terrifying than before. "Oh my God, what happened? Why is there such a terrifying aura? Mommy, I will never come to the Lost Lands again." Many warriors screamed, but even more warriors looked at the distant sky in horror. In front of them, an incomparable black hole appeared as though it was going to devour everything. Chapter 539. The area around the White Bone Mountain was completely enveloped by a huge black hole. It was dark and eerie. Gradually, the terrifying pressure in the Lost Land dissipated. Everyone started to move around again and heaved a sigh of relief. However, the area around the White Bone Mountain had become a forbidden area. There was once a bold warrior who wanted to check it out, but he was instantly sucked into the black hole. No one knew if he was dead or alive. From then on, no warrior dared to go near the White Bone Mountain. Even the powerful beasts in the forest did not dare to wander around. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Other than the White Bone Mountain that was still enveloped by the black hole, everyone else began to search for all kinds of treasures. Gradually, 2 months passed. The people from the 3 six-star sects were puzzled. In the past, they would always see traces of soul's word beasts in the lost land. They would even bring back 1 or 2 each time. However, this time, other than a few appearances at the beginning, the soul's word beasts did not appear at all in the next few months. It was as if they had disappeared. Yu Qingqing, Yi Linyan, and the others were puzzled. They looked at the huge black hole in the distance, wondering if it had anything to do with the strange change. However, they had already decided to report to their sects immediately once they went out. Such a big change in the lost land this time would probably have a big impact. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Near the White Bone Mountain, in the huge black hole, Lin Xian's body was wrapped in a ball of light. At this moment, he had already merged with the great dragon Sword Soul and reached the final stage. In the beginning, he was almost blown up by the powerful force of the great dragon Sword Soul. He felt as if his entire body was about to split apart. The pain came not only from his body, but also from his soul. Ordinary people could not bear it at all. Perhaps even supremacies could not bear such pain. Once the soul could not bear it and fainted, the fusion would fail. However, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and persevered. For 3 whole months, his soul seemed to have experienced hell and reincarnation, enduring all kinds of pain. Finally, he had reached the final stage of the fusion with the great dragon Sword Soul. Another half a month passed. Lin Xian opened his eyes. Stars flickered in his eyes, and they were incomparably deep. At this moment, he was like a peerless divine sword. His spirit was extremely sharp. In the next moment, a surge of sword intent burst out from his body, forming a huge sword chi that was like a heavenly pillar that connected the heavens and the earth. In an instant, a huge vortex of spiritual energy appeared in the sky. Like a funnel, the surrounding spiritual energy madly gathered and entered Lin Xian's body. The boundless black hole also gradually shrank and quickly disappeared. In the next moment, the entire lost land could feel the sharp sword essence. Many martial artists trembled as they looked at the sky in horror. They felt as if there was a peerless divine sword hanging in the sky, as if it would fall at any moment. Especially the disciples of the divine sword sect, they were even more shocked. This kind of sword intent made their souls tremble. How terrifying! Why do I feel like I'm facing an elder of the sect? What a joke! Even the elders don't have such a terrifying sword intent. I'm afraid that only the Manor Lord can give us such an aura. Heavens, could it be that the sect leader has descended? How is that possible? There are restrictions in the Lost Lands. The clan leader can't enter at all. It is very likely that he is an indigenous expert. This is too shocking. Let's hurry up and leave. Yi Linyan frowned. He could feel the sword intent, and his heart was beating wildly. What a powerful sword intent. Who could it be? He had a feeling that he was powerless to resist. Soon they sensed the changes in the White Bone Mountain. Look, that sword intent is coming from the White Bone Mountain. What a powerful spiritual vortex. Could someone be breaking through? That huge black hole disappeared. Shall we go and take a look? In an instant, all the martial artists couldn't stay calm and decided to go and take a look. After all, the scene was too terrifying, especially the shocking sword intent. Moreover, the terrifying black hole had disappeared, so there shouldn't be any danger. Therefore, everyone dared to go. After absorbing a large amount of spiritual energy into his body, Lin Xian activated the longevity art and converted it into his own spiritual energy. Then, an even more powerful aura burst out from his body. Bang bang. Middle stage of the spirit detecting realm. Success! Lin Xian was overjoyed. This time, not only did he integrate with the great dragon sword soul, but his cultivation had also increased. This risk was too worth it. In the sky, the vortex slowly descended, and Lord Alcohol's voice could be heard. With the great dragon sword soul, you also have the qualifications to walk to the peak of martial arts. However, remember, you must not be careless on the path of martial arts. Got it? Lin Xian nodded with a smile. Now that you have the great dragon sword soul, I'm afraid it will be difficult to accommodate the sword of devouring. However, the great dragon sword soul is an offensive, sacred art. As long as you can master it, you will definitely be able to conquer the world. Lin Xian nodded to show that he understood. The great dragon sword soul was his greatest trump card and also his greatest barrier. With the great dragon sword soul, his attack power and strength had greatly increased. It was a world of difference from before. Lord Alcohol, can't the 5 swords of the world coexist? Lin Xian asked in puzzlement. Each of the 5 swords of the world is the ultimate embodiment of the great Tao. It is very difficult to fuse them together. A long time ago, there was once a lunatic who tried to fuse the 5 swords of the world together. Did he succeed? Lin Xian asked. Lord Alcohol sighed. You will know about this in the future. With that said, the sword of devouring emitted ripples and disappeared in the air. Ouch! It hurts so much, Ben Huang. While Lin Xian and Lord Alcohol were conversing, a scream suddenly came from below. Damn it! How dare you suck Ben Huang's dragon essence? Let's see if Ben Huang doesn't beat you to death. The crimson dragon cursed and roared angrily. Soon he discovered Lin Xian. It's you, you little worm. How dare you sneak attack Ben Huang? Let's see if Ben Huang eats you alive. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws as he quickly pounced over. Bam! Lin Xian sent him flying with a slap. What's going on? An ant can actually send Ben Huang flying? This is impossible. The Crimson Dragon was dumbfounded. Who was he? He was a famous member of the Eastern Divine Dragon race and was one of the best. Other than a few old monsters in the world, no one could deal with him. But now he had been sent flying by a little spirit detecting martial artist with a single slap? Little worm, you're dead. No one can save you if you anger Ben Huang. The Crimson Dragon roared angrily, but in the next moment he suddenly screamed. What's going on? There's not a single drop of my dragon essence left. Kid, what did you do? You actually sucked away all my dragon essence. My body? No. How did it become so small? The Crimson Dragon was stunned. He realized that there wasn't a single drop of dragon essence left in his body. What made him even more furious was that his body, which was originally thousands of feet long, was now less than 10 feet long. How was this a divine dragon? This was a small snake. Motherlong, I must be dreaming. Please wake me up. Following that, the Crimson Dragon used his dragon claws to slap his head. The scene was extremely strange. Wuji the snow-white monkey jumped out and landed on Lin Xian's shoulder. When it saw this scene, it held its stomach and laughed, almost falling down. What's going on? A little monkey actually dares to laugh at Ben Huang? Chapter 540. The Crimson Dragon was furious. As a member of the Divine Dragon Clan, he was the leader of the spiritual beasts in the world. Now he was being mocked by a little monkey. This was intolerable. Then he rushed out again, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws. The Crimson Dragon was furious. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws at the little white monkey. The little white monkey laughed mockingly. Then, with a whoosh, it disappeared. When it reappeared, it was already beside the Crimson Dragon. Its furry little claws quickly landed on the dragon's head. Bang! The Crimson Dragon felt dizzy. Countless little stars appeared in its eyes. Finally it fell to the ground. "Oh, my dragon mother, why did Ben Huang faint?" The crimson dragon got up from the ground with a puzzled look. "Impossible! How could a little monkey knock Ben Huang out? Goddamn brat, what did you do to me?" Lin Xian sneered. In a flash, he appeared beside the crimson dragon. "I've eaten many demonic beasts, but I've never eaten dragon meat. I wonder how it tastes." Lin Xian smiled. "What? You little worm dare to eat Ben Huang?" The crimson dragon roared. However, Lin Xian ignored it completely. He grabbed the crimson dragon and pulled at it casually. It's quite elastic. Your meat must be very fragrant." "Damn it, it's breaking." "Let go, brat." The crimson dragon cursed. Then Lin Xian flipped his palm. A ball of flame formed by spiritual energy appeared and quickly enveloped the crimson dragon. Hot, hot, hot! The dark red divine dragon kept rolling, but those that came into contact with the flaming scales were not affected at all. They could not cause any damage to him at all. What a strong defense! Lin Xian was surprised. Then, with a flick of his finger, golden lightning surged and quickly formed a lightning blade, slashing down. In an instant, the sea of lightning around the crimson dragon surged, forming a terrifying energy. Ouch, ouch, ouch! The crimson dragon screamed. It quickly circled around, trying to escape from the sea of lightning. Now that it had lost its dragon essence and its cultivation, it was only at the harmonious spirit realm. It could not break through the sea of lightning. Although it was screaming crazily, there was not a single wound on its body. Its red scales shined brightly. Not even a trace of lightning was left behind. "All right, stop pretending. You didn't even leave behind a single scar. What the hell are you screaming for?" Lin Xian curled his lips. "Damn it, what do you know? Not being wounded doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Why don't I test you? It's good that you know the pain. Who told you to want to eat me?" Lin Xian pulled out the wind shadow sword, and the great dragon's sword intent gushed out. Sensing the crimson dragon's sword, the crimson dragon's dragon, the crimson dragon, the dragon crimson, dragon, dragon crimson, dragon. The crimson cries crimson, dragon, red cries. Lin Xian pulled it back with his palm and clicked his tongue in wonder. His greater success sword intent did not leave a single mark on its body. This crimson dragon was indeed extremely tough. "Goddamn brat, it hurts Ben Huang." The crimson dragon was on the verge of tears. He did not have any strength left and could only rely on his powerful physical defense. However, he could not avoid the pain, especially Lin Xian's sword intent. It was so painful that he was on the verge of tears. "All right, little Schwanzi, stop trying. That stupid dragon's cultivation is too high. You can't break through his defense. Why don't I try the great dragon sword soul?" Lin Xian touched it. "Forget it." Lord Alcohol snorted. "Although you have fused with the great dragon sword soul, with your current strength, you can't even unleash 10% of its power. Also, don't let anyone know that you have the great dragon sword soul. Otherwise, there will be no place for you in this world." Lord Alcohol said solemnly. "All right, got it." Lin Xian nodded. "This stupid dragon is considered an old monster. I believe he must be quite knowledgeable. Perhaps he will be of some use if he stays by your side," Lord Alcohol said. "Why do I feel like you are making arrangements for your funeral?" Lin Xian was puzzled as he asked with a voice transmission. "I do have to leave." Lord Alcohol sighed. "However, I still have things to do. I was trapped here because I lacked the strength previously. Now that I have recovered a portion of my strength and can control the Sword of Devouring, it's time to leave." "You really have to leave." Lin Xian's expression darkened. Lord Alcohol had been with him all these years and had taught him meticulously. It could be said that he was both a teacher and a father. Lin Xian was already familiar with Lord Alcohol's existence. Now that Lord Alcohol was leaving, he felt extremely upset. "All right, Xiao Xuanzi, I have to leave," Lord Alcohol said. "I believe we will meet again." "Then where are you going? How do I find you in the future?" Lin Xian asked. "The depths of this world. You can naturally come and find me when you are strong enough." Lin Xian was taken aback as he was alarmed. He naturally knew what the world Lord Alcohol was referring to was. It wasn't the continent he was on, but the world inside the mysterious sword in his body. He originally thought that it was a special space inside the mysterious sword, but from the looks of it, there were still many secrets that he didn't know about. "Don't worry, Lord Alcohol. I will definitely figure out all the secrets and find you," Lin Xian said solemnly. "I believe that day will come," Lord Alcohol said with a smile. Following that, he produced a black mark and left it in Lin Xian's body. "I left a mark that can help you at critical moments. Remember, don't use it unless your life is in danger." Lin Xian nodded in understanding. Finally, Lord Alcohol used devouring again, forming black holes around Lin Xian. When this scene appeared, the red divine dragon in the outside world was stunned. "Mother Dragon, the black hole has appeared again." The red dragon screamed as he tried to escape. However, a vigorous and powerful hand appeared from the vortex and caught him. "Hero, spare me. You have already sucked away all my dragon essence. I really have nothing left." The red dragon was on the brink of tears. As a member of the divine dragon race, few people in the world could restrain him. But now he was being controlled by a huge hand and couldn't struggle at all. He didn't even know who the other party was. "I'll borrow the dragon essence for now. Stay by this youth's side and help him. I will definitely return the dragon essence to you in the future." "Really?" The Crimson Dragon was taken aback before he was pleasantly surprised. The dragon essence was related to his cultivation. Once he lost it, he wouldn't be able to recover it without thousands of years. Although he was a divine dragon, he wasn't immortal. Only the heavens knew if he could last a few more millennia. Without the dragon essence and energy, he would definitely be captured by others to refine him into medicine if he wandered around as an Eastern divine dragon. That was why he was so anxious and sad about the dragon essence. "Of course it's true. Do you think I would lie to you?" Lord Alcohol snorted. That's good. That's good." The red dragon heaved a sigh of relief. With the other party's means, he was definitely an extraordinary figure. Such a person always kept his word and definitely wouldn't lie to him. However, as a divine dragon, he was extremely displeased that he had to follow a little worm and help him. But in the current situation, he had no choice but to agree. "All right, Xiao Xuanzi, this stupid dragon shouldn't be a problem. I believe you should be able to control him. I'm leaving. See you again if fate wills it." Chapter 541. With that said, the surrounding black holes disappeared. Inside the mysterious sword, Lord Alcohol controlled the devouring sword and quickly rushed into the depths before disappearing. Lord Alcohol, Lin Xian's soul, was inside the mysterious sword. He stood there like a stone statue as he watched the disappearing figure. He wanted to pursue it, but he realized that he could only walk within 100 feet. He couldn't go anywhere else. "I will definitely increase my strength quickly. I will also figure out the secret of this mysterious sword as soon as possible," Lin Xian said with clenched fists. Lord Alcohol left with the devouring space, leaving Lin Xian to walk the remaining path alone. However, he had been learning alchemy, array formation, and other knowledge from Lord Alcohol all these years. He was already able to take charge, now that he had obtained the great dragon sword soul. His strength and foundation had increased greatly. Therefore, Lin Xian was confident that he could walk the rest of the path well. Then his soul left the mysterious sword and returned to his body. Kid, Ben Huang is warning you. I'm only reluctantly following you because I want to get back my dragon essence. Don't push your luck. Don't always expect Ben Huang to do anything, understand? You look like a snake. Do you have the ability to do anything? Li Xian sneered. I think it would be a good idea to make you into a belt. F***CK. The Crimson Dragon was furious. It stomped its feet in anger, but there was nothing it could do. It could only curse in its heart. Suddenly, Lin Xian raised his head and looked into the distance. He frowned slightly. With his sharp soul power, he could naturally sense that many warriors were rushing over. Among them, there were a few powerful auras. Lin Xian sighed. His body swayed, and he left with the snow-white fox and the crimson dragon. Although his strength had increased greatly, he didn't want others to know that he had the great dragon sword soul. It was too shocking, not to mention supremacies. Even kings would go crazy if they knew about it. However, there were too many warriors nearby. It didn't take long for him to be recognized. Kid, it's you. The demon's siblings laughed sinisterly. They descended from the sky and blocked Lin Xian's path. I let you go last time. Let's see how you escape this time. It's actually a two-headed monster. The Crimson Dragon was astonished. Judging from its aura, could it be the descendant of the three-headed bird? Humph. A snake dares to insult the holy bird of my holy bird palace. You're courting death. The monster brother snorted coldly. Its scales aren't bad. Plucking them off to make a belt would be pretty good. The little monster sister also laughed. Mother **her, you're the snake. Your whole family are snakes. The Crimson Dragon was furious. Are you blind? Ben Huang is so handsome. How can he be a snake? He roared angrily. Of course, he did not dare to say that he was a divine dragon. Otherwise, he would be done for if he was captured to be refined into medicine. No matter what you are, your skin is not bad. I want you to be my belt. The monster sister clapped her hands and laughed. Little girl, Ben Huang is angry. The Crimson Dragon was driven mad. Brat, go and deal with them for Ben Huang. Little snake, be quiet. Otherwise, I'll really make you into a belt. Lin Xian frowned. This Crimson Dragon was too noisy. How was he laughing at a divine dragon? He was simply a hooligan. A bunch of bastards. When Ben Huang regains his dragon essence, he'll roast all of you and eat you. The Crimson Dragon said hatefully in his heart. At this time, Jiu Moyin, Yu Qingqing, and the others also arrived. When they saw Lin Xian, they were also slightly cold. Since Lin Xian defeated them last time, he had not appeared for several months. They did not expect him to appear here again, especially Jiu Moyin and the other disciples of the Holy Bird Palace. Their eyes were especially red. Senior brother, you must catch this little thief and cut him into pieces. The disciples of Sun Divine Bird Palace gritted their teeth and said, Don't worry, it's just a little thief. I can kill him in one move. The monster brother and sister were very arrogant. If it wasn't for the appearance of the indigenous warriors from the Lost Lands, he would have killed Lin Xian in one move and things wouldn't have turned out this way. Little thief, I'll give you a chance to live. You were sneaking around here just now. Did you find something? The monster brother and sister asked. Speak, did you find any treasure here? If you hand it over, we can consider leaving your corpse intact. The monster sister also laughed. Hearing this, everyone's heart was burning. They all looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Don't you think it's too noisy to have two heads each? Anyway, I'm annoyed to death. How about this? I'll kill one of you. This way you'll be quieter. You guys discuss. Which one do you want me to kill? Lin Xian's body was suffused with a sword intent. Wah, 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 little thief, you're courting death. You dare to sow discord between us siblings? You're dead for sure. A giant death scythe appeared in the monster brother's hand. I've decided. I'll definitely take your head and make it into the most beautiful specimen." The monster sister also took out a giant fan and formed a wind force that surrounded them. Then the air condensed and became more and more heavy. Many warriors retreated in fear because their breathing and blood were about to freeze. The monster brother and sister were too powerful. They were the top warriors among the younger generation and were not someone they could contend against. "This brat is dead for sure." The monster brother and sister are existences at the peak of the spirit detecting realm. They can instantly kill a late-stage spirit detecting realm warrior. That brat can't fight back at all. There's no other way. Who told him to be so arrogant? He killed many disciples of the 3 divine bird palace before, and now he's even talking nonsense. With the monster brother and sister's personality, they definitely won't let him go. Everyone shook their heads. They all felt that Lin Xian was dead for sure. Jiao Moyin looked at Lin Xian and sneered. With the monster brother taking action, he was very relieved. Not to mention Lin Xian. Even all the youths in the Lost Lands would not be able to defend against the monster brother and sister. Yi Linian's expression was solemn. He felt that the sword intent in Lin Xian's body seemed to have become stronger, which shocked him. On the other hand, Yu Qingqing frowned. Her thoughts were more meticulous than other warriors. She found that Lin Xian's aura had surpassed the early stage of the spirit detecting realm and had reached the middle stage. After this matter was confirmed, her heart was in turmoil, and she was incomparably shocked. In just a few months, Lin Xian's cultivation had broken through again. It had to be known that after entering the spirit detecting realm, every breakthrough was extremely difficult. Ordinary warriors would not be able to break through without dozens of years. Even for geniuses like them, without heavenly treasures or opportunities, it would be impossible for them to break through without 3 to 5 years. However, Lin Xian had broken through a small realm in just a few months. This speed was too shocking. Beside her, Zhao Ziki stared at Lin Xian with her beautiful eyes. Her hands were tightly clenched and she was very nervous. "Lin Xian, nothing must happen to you," she prayed in her heart. "Haha, brat, die." The monster brother and sister attacked at the same time. Purple lightning and green wind energy intersected and condensed into a giant death scythe in the air. Chapter 542. Then it quickly fell and slashed toward Lin Xian. Lightning danced wildly and a hurricane galloped. In an instant, the entire space was shrouded in violent energy. Towering trees were uprooted and turned into powder under the violent energy. The earth cracked as countless cracks were created by this aura. The surrounding mountains exploded with a loud bang, as if they couldn't withstand this power. If it was before, Lin Xian would not be able to resist at all. He could only use his body movement to dodge, now that he had merged with the great dragon sword soul. His strength and attack power had greatly increased. He could completely deal with this kind of attack. Without pulling out the wind shadow sword, Lin Xian grasped the void with one hand. The golden lightning in his body roared and instantly condensed into a golden long sword. Lin Xian grasped the void and condensed a golden divine sword. The long sword was composed of golden lightning. The lightning jumped and emitted an aura that made people's hearts palpitate. With a wave of his arm, the golden lightning sword cut through the void and slashed forward. Airwaves rolled on both sides and countless cracks appeared. The golden long sword instantly collided with the death scythe. When the two collided, the void kept exploding and fine black cracks appeared. It was a shocking sight. The golden lightning long sword was condensed by Lin Xian using the great dragon sword soul as the foundation. Its attack power could be said to be extremely powerful. In an instant, the huge death scythe in the sky was cut in half. "What? This is impossible." The disciples of the divine bird palace were terrified and could not believe it. Their senior brother was extremely powerful. Almost no one in the lost place could defeat him. Even a martial artist at the peak of the spirit-detecting realm would not dare to take the blow head-on. However, Lin Xian only used one move to break the terrifying attack. How is this possible? The surrounding martial artists panicked. They were all horrified. The demon siblings' pupils shrank, and their hearts beat wildly. How could this be? When did this little thief become so powerful? The demon brother's face was gloomy. Is the strange phenomenon of the White Bone Mountain related to this little thief? Otherwise, how could he become so powerful in just a few months? The demon sister was also puzzled. No, we must catch him. Don't hold back anymore, the demon brother said in a deep voice. Then he held the huge death god scythe in his hand, and half of his body released boundless purple lightning. It was like a purple sea, and vast energy spread out in all directions. On the monster sister's side, a clear stream of air revolved, and the power of the wind filled her body. Rumble! The huge purple lightning above the heavenly palace bared its fangs and brandished its claws like dragons. Wherever the lightning passed, the air was filled with a burnt smell. Looking at the huge lightning bolt, everyone was terrified. They all watched nervously. The aura of this lightning was too terrifying. Very few spirit-detecting realm martial artists would be able to withstand it. Whoosh! The demon siblings' figures flickered and disappeared in an instant. Where is he? The surrounding warriors quickly probed, but they couldn't sense anything at all. It was as if the Fey siblings had truly vanished. Oh my God, it really disappeared. No, this is the concept of wind. Moreover, it has reached a very high level and is already capable of merging into the wind to eliminate all traces. It can be said to come and go without a trace. Come and go without a trace? How are we supposed to fight when we can't even sense the opponent's presence? Everyone was shocked. Just think about it, an opponent with powerful attack power who could appear anywhere at any time was absolutely terrifying. Lin Xian's expression was cold. Suddenly his body flickered, and he quickly moved out horizontally. A dazzling lightning bolt suddenly appeared where he had just been standing, exploding the space there. Countless cracks appeared, and a pungent, burnt smell spread out from there. The demon siblings' figures flashed and then quickly disappeared. Since their attack had failed, they hid again. Another lightning bolt flashed across the void, attacking Lin Xian. At the same time, countless wind blades flew out from all directions, shining with cold light. Lin Xian used the illusory demon steps. Like a phantom, he disappeared from where he was and reappeared in another direction. Everyone held their breaths, and cold sweat kept dripping down. This kind of attack was too strange and exciting. If it were them, they would have been killed instantly. Even Jiu Moyin and the others' eyelids were twitching as they watched nervously. Suddenly, a dazzling light beam shot out from the void, slashing toward Lin Xian's back. At the same time, the air around Lin Xian quickly moved, and a blue chain formed and quickly tied him up. What? He's tied up. Haha, this kid is dead. How can he dodge this time? The disciples of the divine bird palace laughed wildly. Some shook their heads, some were happy, but everyone knew that Lin Xian was dead this time. Haha, little thief, die. The huge death scythe turned into a ray of light and slashed down quickly. The momentum seemed to be able to split mountains and rivers, cutting through everything. However, Lin Xian was not afraid at all. In fact, the corner of his mouth even curled up into a sneer. Countless sharp sword rays surged out of his body, instantly shattering the green chains. Then he twisted his body and quickly dodged the huge scythe. He quickly pulled out the wind shadow sword. On the blade, the sword Qi spun quickly, intertwining to form a bright moon. The blade slashed down, and the bright moon formed by the sword Qi spun quickly, bombarding the demon siblings. The air seemed to be cut open, making a cracking sound. Then the bright moon of Sword Chi hit the arm holding the scythe and suddenly deformed it. The demon's siblings screamed and flew backward. The purple death scythe floated in the air, and the arm was already deformed, apparently broken. Countless tiny Sword Chi shuttled back and forth on it, constantly destroying it. It was impossible for the demon siblings to repair it in a short time. Not only that, but the Sword Chi was so fierce that it tortured them until they screamed. Both of their heads had ferocious expressions. "Ah, you despicable thief! I'll definitely slaughter you." The two were angry, and blood-red lines appeared on their bodies, like a huge water ball wrapping them up. The power of the bloodline. Senior brother was forced to use the power of the bloodline. Jiu Moyin was shocked. He originally expected that his senior brother would be able to kill Lin Xian in one move. However, he did not expect Lin Xian to become so powerful in such a short time, and even his senior brother was forced to use the power of the bloodline. But in the next moment, his expression became ferocious. He was full of confidence in his senior brother, because his senior brother's bloodline was far stronger than his. The demon siblings had once used the power of the bloodline to fight against Limit Spirit Realm cultivators of the same level, and killing cultivators of the same level would be a piece of cake. Although Lin Xian was strong, he was no match for the demon siblings after using the power of the bloodline. The demon siblings were wrapped in blood-red chi, and their bodies underwent great changes. Ice-cold scales appeared on his body and covered his entire body. His two arms continued to grow thicker and larger, forming two beast claws. Feathers covered their backs, forming a pair of huge wings. Their heads also seemed to become twisted, like the heads of demon beasts. After using the power of the bloodline, the demon siblings did not look like humans at all, but half-demon beasts. Terrifying spirit power surged on his body, and at the same time, there was a frightening demonic aura. Chapter 543. The two forces intertwined, making the monster siblings extremely powerful. "Kid, you should be proud to die because of bloodline power." A cold voice came out. This voice was rougher than before, with a strong murderous aura, shattering the void. "This is your bloodline power." Lin Xian sneered. "You've turned yourself into something neither human nor ghost. Your divine bird palace is really disgusting. You're courting death." The monster siblings were furious. The huge wind thorn rotated, and the terrifying airflow sank the ground. They turned into a stream of light and instantly arrived in front of Lin Xian. The huge beast claw attacked, grabbing at Lin Xian. Wherever it passed, the void was torn apart like a piece of cloth. At the same time, the two heads spewed out a purple lightning, and the other side was a small hurricane. Lin Xian ignored the huge beast claw, but he frowned at the lightning hurricane. Although his words were sharp, it didn't mean that he didn't take the monster siblings seriously. On the contrary, he didn't underestimate them. However, the two lightning hurricanes made him feel a little scared. This force was enough to threaten him. His body swayed, leaving hundreds of shadows in the void, like a string of bubbles filling the whole place. Wherever the lightning and hurricane passed, one shadow after another was destroyed. However, none of them were Lin Xian's real body. At this moment, Lin Xian jumped high, holding the wind shadow sword with one hand, and slashed down. The sword light was dazzling, accompanied by a terrifying sword intent. The sword light was like a divine light crashing down, thunder and lightning intertwined, accompanied by a strong wind. The power of wind and thunder merged perfectly, forming a sword aura of wind and thunder, stirring up the surroundings. In the face of bloodline power, Lin Xian chose to fight head-on. He wanted to test his attack power after merging with the great dragon sword soul. How powerful was it? "Humph, you're just an ant without bloodline power. You're courting death." The monster siblings were disdainful. Their bodies swayed and they rushed up again. A huge lightning and hurricane rushed out, bombarding the front. Boom, boom, boom. The air exploded, thunder intertwined, and the whole void was boiling. The two individuals' attacks collided, erupting with dazzling light. Terrifying power erupted as they rushed over. The demon siblings seemed to tremble as they were sent flying. Their attacks were all shattered, and their bodies were covered with sword wounds. If not for the fact that they had activated their bloodline power, which greatly increased their defense, the sword chi could very well have sliced and pierced through them. What? The monster siblings were actually defeated. Everyone was stupefied, not daring to believe this. Especially the disciples of the divine bird palace. They all screamed in horror. Their bodies trembled, and their eyes were full of fear. They were very clear about the power of their own bloodline. Their senior brother was one of the best in the bloodline. In the past, once he used the power of his bloodline, he would quickly kill his enemies. Even if his enemies had a higher cultivation than him, they would still run away. However, this time, the bloodline power that they were so proud of had lost its effect. In front of Lin Xian, the attacks that were infused with the power of the bloodline seemed like child's play. How is this possible? He clearly doesn't have the power of the bloodline. How could he break my attacks? The demon siblings were very puzzled, and their eyes revealed endless madness. What was the so-called power of the bloodline? It was a vast power inherited from their ancestors, and it could definitely suppress ordinary warriors. In the past, when they used the power of the bloodline, they could definitely make those ordinary warriors' bodies stiff and unable to tremble. That was the suppression from the bloodline of the soul. However, all of this was ineffective against Lin Xian. Does Lin Xian also have a bloodline? Everyone guessed. Impossible. The power of the bloodline is extremely special. When it is used, we can all feel it. Lin Xian doesn't have that kind of aura. Someone shook his head. If this is your bloodline power, then you can go to hell. Lin Xian was like a killing god, stepping on the air. After the battle just now, he had a certain understanding of the power of the great dragon sword soul. The bloodlines that were as strong as the demon siblings were useless in front of the great dragon sword soul. The great dragon sword soul was separated from the body of a true dragon, and it was the world's offensive saint technique. Lin Xian had fused with the great dragon sword soul, so he was not afraid of any bloodline power. In this way, his own shortcomings were completely fixed. He would even be the nemesis of those warriors who had the power of the bloodline. Brat, you're courting death. No one dared to underestimate the power of the bloodline. Those who did were already dead. The demon brother's voice was cold. He urged the power of the bloodline in his body with all his strength, forming blood patterns that covered his body. However, at this moment, a black shadow flashed, and Lin Xian had already appeared beside him. So fast! How is this possible? The demon siblings' faces changed drastically, and they quickly tried to dodge. However, a sword light was faster than them. The sword light flashed like a meteor across the void. Although it was very short, the light was extremely dazzling. Puff, puff! Pillars of blood gushed out. Two heads flew into the sky. The heads were filled with unwillingness and fear, and they were frozen forever. What? The demon siblings were killed. How is this possible? Everyone was stunned. The demon siblings were top warriors with powerful strength that almost no one could compare to. However, such people had been killed, and the one who killed them was only a youth at the middle stage of the spirit detecting realm. To be honest, it was too shocking. These people would never forget this scene for the rest of their lives. Putong! The body fell to the ground, blood flowing out, and the two heads fell in the distance. Lin Xian withdrew his sword. He had used the great dragon sword soul in that attack, and it was not something the demon siblings could resist. Then he looked around and stared at the people of the divine bird palace. In an instant, all the disciples of the divine bird palace trembled. That gaze was like a sword that pierced into their hearts. Jiu, demonic flame's body, also trembled slightly, and his heart was filled with horror. His powerful senior brother had also died. If this was spread back, the sect would definitely be shaken. Moreover, Lin Xian's gaze had made him feel fear. A few months ago, this would have been a joke, but now it had happened. "Let's go!" he screamed. This person was not someone they could contend with. If Lin Xian went crazy and killed the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace, they would not have any power to fight back. If that was the case, the Divine Bird Palace would definitely be injured. In an instant, the sound of the air being torn rang out. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace were so scared that their faces turned pale. They could no longer care about anything else and fled. In the sky, countless rays of light flashed and the airflow surged. Those were the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace that had fled. Everyone was stunned and their minds went blank. They did not think that the domineering Divine Bird Palace would be like a stray dog fleeing. And the one who had caused this was only a youth at the middle stage of the spirit-detecting realm. If this was spread out, the entire Tianwu domain would be shaken. In addition to the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace, the cultivators of the other forces were also trembling, especially the disciples of the moon-embracing pavilion. They all had strange expressions and wanted to leave. Chapter 544. However, their senior sister Yu Qingqing had not left yet, so they could not escape. Facing those fleeing disciples of Divine Bird Palace, Lin Xian sneered. These people were nothing to worry about and were not worthy of him taking action. At this time, Yu Qingqing suddenly spoke. "Lin Gongzi, I have heard about your matter from Ziki. I think we had some misunderstandings before. Why don't we resolve it now?" Everyone was shocked again. The 6-star Divine Bird Palace had escaped, and now another 6-star sect, Moon Embracing Pavilion, had admitted defeat and wanted to make peace with Lin Xian. This was something that would have been impossible in the past. One must know that 6-star sects were overlords in the Sky Martial region. Their disciples were extremely arrogant and did not put anyone in their eyes. If someone dared to touch their people, these people would definitely attack crazily. At this moment, Moon Embracing Pavilion actually took the initiative to ask for peace. Although this was a sealed space in the Lost Lands, it was enough to show how terrifying Lin Xian was. Okay. Lin Xian nodded. Firstly, he was not a homicidal maniac. Secondly, he did not need to offend a 6-star sect over a small matter. After all, he would go to the Sky Martial region in the future. It was better to have one less enemy than one more friend. Seeing Lin Xian nodding, the disciples of Moon Embracing Pavilion were all relieved. In this case, we will meet again if fate wills it. Yu Qingqing's beautiful face revealed a smile. Then she left with everyone. Zhao Ziqi's beautiful eyes looked at Lin Xian. She was very reluctant, but in the end, she gritted her teeth and left with Yu Qingqing. After the disciples of Moon Embracing Pavilion left, the other warriors also quickly left. Even the disciples of 6-star sects did not dare to go against Lin Xian, let alone them. In the following days, Lin Xian did not do anything else, but focused on consolidating the great dragon Sword Soul. With his current cultivation, he could only exert a trace of the great dragon Sword Soul's power. But even so, the power was already very terrifying. In the future, as his cultivation increased, the power of the great dragon Sword Soul would also increase. Just as Lin Xian was concentrating on cultivating, an ancient tribe in the Lost Lands was in an uproar. 8 experts from their clan went to suppress the White Bone Mountain, but they were thrown back. What was even more shocking was that the ferocious beasts from underground had come out and even destroyed the lost shrine. Every single one of these events was earth-shattering. Normally, it would have shocked the natives of the Lost Lands, but now, all of them were happening at the same time. Not only them, but those old antiques who had been sleeping were also awakened. Among them, 2 withered old men came out from the ancestral land. These 2 people were very short and small. Their figures were stooped, and their bodies were emaciated. Only a layer of wrinkled skin stuck to their bodies. It was shaped like a dried orange peel, unusually rough. However, the eyes of the 2 old men were shining like stars. The aura that they inadvertently emitted was enough to make one's soul tremble. "Ancestor," everyone in the lost land said respectfully. Even those 2 old men at the Exalt realm revealed respectful expressions and didn't act presumptuously at all. At their level, age and whatnot were no longer of any use. Unless the opponent's cultivation was profound, only then could they be intimidated. Therefore, these 2 withered old men's cultivation was definitely above the Exalt realm. Perhaps even those 6-star sects didn't know that there was such a terrifying existence in the Lost Lands. The 2 old men nodded slowly and asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter? Why did you wake us up? Could it be that the clan has reached a moment of life and death?" The 2 old men were dissatisfied. For people like them, they were already very old and didn't have much time left. If they didn't break through soon, they would turn into a pile of yellow soil. Although their cultivation was powerful, they still couldn't escape the fate of death. Usually, in order to conserve energy, they chose to stay in seclusion. They would only make a move when the clan was at a moment of life and death. Now that they were awakened by their clansmen, they naturally thought that the clan was under threat. "Ancestor, the clan is fine," the Exalt realm elder said. "Humph." The 2 old men were furious, and their expressions immediately darkened. "Have you forgotten the clan rules?" His voice carried a terrifying power, causing everyone's blood to boil. "We don't dare," the warriors hurriedly explained. "Ancestor, it's like this." Then the elder told them what had happened on Whitebone Mountain. Then the 2 skinny old men trembled with excitement, and a terrifying light shot out from their eyes. "The great dragon, Sword Soul. I didn't expect the great dragon Sword Soul to be born." The 2 old men were excited. It turned out that the ancient words were true. The 2 of them shouted excitedly, and their voices echoed in all directions. "Let's go, bring me to have a look." The 2 old men's voices were urgent. "Ancestor, I'll lead the way." A young man in a beast robe walked out with a face full of excitement. Old man, I didn't expect it to be your descendant," one of the white-haired old men said. The other gray-haired old man laughed dryly. "His aptitude is not bad. Let me do it." The young man in the beast robe, Hunley, was excited and quickly walked over. Then the 2 old men waved their sleeves and turned into 2 shocking rays of light, instantly disappearing. Lin Xian was cultivating near Whitebone Mountain when he suddenly opened his eyes. With a trace of shock in his eyes, he looked up at the sky. Next to him, the Crimson Dragon, who was sleeping, also straightened up and looked up suspiciously. "Not good. This aura is so powerful." The Crimson Dragon's expression changed. "Kid, let's go quickly. I don't want to be caught to refine medicine." Lin Xian stood up and asked anxiously, "What's his cultivation?" To be able to make the Crimson Dragon so nervous, he must have an extraordinary background. Damn, he's at least a half-step king. Let's go quickly. Ben Huang doesn't want to be caught to refine medicine. Without his dragon essence, he could not stop these people at all. Hearing this, Lin Xian's expression changed. A half-step king was the same cultivation as the Black Dragon sect's leader. He could not even defeat one, let alone 2. "Let's go." Lin Xian did not hesitate. He grabbed the Crimson Dragon and flew toward Lost Shrine. That was the only safe place. Swish! He turned into a ray of sword light and instantly disappeared into Lost Shrine. The next moment, the sky trembled like boiling water, surging endlessly. 2 shocking rays of light descended, forming a terrifying momentum that blew everything away. Even the ground could not withstand it and cracked open terrifying gullies. The originally lively primitive forest also quieted down at this moment. There was not a trace of movement within 100 miles. The two old men slowly descended, followed by the beast-robed youth, Hunley. "That beast really ran away," the white-haired old man said. "I didn't expect it to be a dragon. I've never seen a dragon in my life." The gray-haired old man snorted lightly. "If we can drink a mouthful of dragon blood, we might be able to break through." "I don't know if we can break through, but it can at least increase our lifespan by a few decades." The two old men's eyes lit up. They were actually thinking about the dragon blood. Then the two of them looked toward Lost Shrine. Chapter 545. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon felt a great threat at this moment. The reason was that the Crimson Dragon had opened a sealed door not long ago. In the end, troops of divine soldiers wearing ancient battle armor and holding sharp bronze spears walked out from inside. They were like ancient warriors, striding over with large strides. These ancient divine soldiers were covered in ancient battle armor, only revealing a pair of cold eyes. They were like lifeless machines, and their movements were uniform. Moreover, they emitted a powerful aura that seemed to be able to shatter everything when gathered together. Lin Xian was shocked. He quickly used the dragon sword soul to eliminate this pressure. Then his face became extremely ugly. The aura of these ancient divine soldiers was very strong. It was far from what a spirit-detecting realm martial artist could resist. If he didn't have the dragon sword soul, he would have been crushed by this aura. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon was also swallowing hard. As a member of the ancient divine dragon race, although it had lost its dragon essence and cultivation, its bloodline was still there. Naturally, it wouldn't be afraid of this aura. However, it didn't look very good. It stared at those divine soldiers and screamed, "Mother Dragon, a group of Een soldiers died." "Een soldiers?" Lin Xian frowned. "What are Een soldiers?" The Crimson Dragon retreated and quickly said these Een soldiers were all powerful martial artists when they were alive. After they died, they were smelted with a special method and became machines that only know how to kill. Moreover, these people had great resentment when they were alive, so now they have an evil and cold aura on them. They are called Een soldiers. Lin Xian understood and then asked, "What are the strength of these Een soldiers?" "It's hard to say. According to their cultivation when they were alive, their combat strength after they died is also different. However, the combat strength of these Een soldiers is average. They haven't reached the venerable realm." Hearing this, Lin Xian's mouth twitched. They haven't reached the venerable realm? Average combat strength? Even he was afraid of the aura of these people. To his surprise, the Crimson Dragon continued, "Indeed, a single Een soldier hasn't reached the venerable realm. However, if they work together, they can definitely kill a venerable realm martial artist." F***CK. Lin Xian's forehead darkened. This was such an important piece of information, and this guy was only saying it now. Didn't he know that he would die if he said it later? "Kid, don't move. The great dragon sword soul should be able to intimidate this group of Een soldiers." The Crimson Dragon rolled its eyes and said. Hearing this, Lin Xian used the great dragon sword soul, and a layer of hazy radiance appeared around his body, condensing into the shape of a true dragon. A supreme aura spread out, as if it was going to tear the 9 heavens apart. Sure enough, blue flames danced in the eye sockets of the Een soldiers. Wielding huge bronze spears, they circled around Lin Xian and continued forward. Only then did Lin Xian heave a sigh of relief. As for the Crimson Divine Dragon, he exclaimed in a low voice, "You scared me to death!" Lin Xian glared at him fiercely. "You still dare to say that? It's all your fault. Otherwise, we wouldn't have encountered such a situation." The Crimson Dragon knew that he was in the wrong, but he still muttered in a low voice, Damn, Ben Huang didn't know there were soldiers here. Then he said, I'm afraid this lost temple isn't as beautiful as we thought. It's very dangerous here. If we're not careful, we'll fall into an extremely dangerous situation. Let's just wait here. Lin Xian also nodded. If there were soldiers nearby, they should be able to intimidate the unknown experts. Behind them, the gray and white elders and the youth in beastly clothes were pacing back and forth in front of a dilapidated stone house. This was a stone house, and there were cracks on the stone door in front, as if it would split open at any time. Traces of golden flames were spitting out from the cracks. It kept flashing, and every once in a while it would spit out some. The gray and white elders were originally hurrying on their way, but they happened to see this light and were attracted to it. Seeing this light, the gray and white elders were overjoyed. They were sure that there was a mysterious treasure behind this dilapidated stone wall. Thinking of this, they were overjoyed. The white-haired elder punched out, and a huge fist image smashed into the wall like a mountain. The space shook and the air exploded. The terrifying energy fiercely slammed into the wall, causing it to shake. However, the wall that seemed to be dilapidated and covered in cracks only shook a little, and then it stood there like before. What? Seeing this, the gray and white elders frowned, and the youth in beastly clothes' eyelids twitched. He swallowed with great difficulty, and then he looked at the dilapidated stone wall in shock. After all, his two ancestors had surpassed the Exalt realm, and they even had 1 foot in the King realm. Such figures could even kill a spirit-detecting realm cultivator with a single glance. However, that violent punch didn't have the slightest bit of effect. This was simply too inconceivable. The white-haired elder's face was gloomy. His punch had not been able to break the wall, which made him feel embarrassed. In the end, he grunted coldly and punched out with his right fist again. This time, rays of divine light shot out from his fist. It was extremely dazzling, and terrifying energy surged out in all directions as if it could crush the heavens and the earth. When the fist smashed into the stone bridge, it instantly caused a heaven-shaking sound to resound. At the side, the youth in beastly clothes felt his eardrums tremble, his aura roil, and his body feel like it was about to split apart. His face was pale, and he retreated in terror. After that, he used his spirit energy to seal his hearing, and only then did he heave a sigh of relief. How terrifying! Just the aftershock of the energy had almost heavily injured him. However, what shocked him even more was that the dilapidated wall was actually still intact. It looked the same as before, and there was not even a single crack. How is this possible? The youth in beastly clothes was shocked, and he almost bit off his tongue. It wasn't just him. The gray and white elders were shocked as well. Their strength could be said to be extremely formidable, but they were actually unable to break a wall. It was too strange. Humph. As expected of the Lost Shrine, it's truly miraculous. I didn't expect a dilapidated wall to be so tough. The white-haired elder's complexion was not very good, and he snorted coldly. The gray-haired elder also frowned. Looking at this wall, there should be a special restriction. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to withstand our strength. Let's look around. There should be a special formation mechanism on it. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for us to open it with brute force. Time passed little by little, and in the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. During this period, Lin Xian tried to walk out. However, as soon as he walked through a passage, he sensed 2 extremely powerful auras in front of him. Then he was shocked and quietly retreated. There was no need to think about it. There were definitely 2 extremely powerful figures in front of him, and they had blocked the path. He could only wait here patiently. During these 2 days, the gray and white elders kept searching and finally found a trace of a way to break through the wall. The 2 joined hands, and relying on their half-step king, cultivation base and vision, they finally gradually broke through the dilapidated wall. With a boom, the wall cracked open and countless pieces of rubble fell to the ground. Immediately, the scene behind the wall was revealed to everyone. Chapter 546. The dilapidated stone door cracked open, revealing the scene inside. However, to the disappointment of the two elders, it was not filled with countless treasures as they had imagined. It was very simple inside. There was only a white skeleton. The dazzling golden light came from the white skeleton. If one looked closely, they would find that the white skeleton was covered with a layer of faint golden lines. Seeing that there were no treasures, the young man in the beast coat was disappointed, while the two elders stared at the skeleton that was glowing with golden light. "Old man, do you feel anything?" the gray-haired elder asked. "Yes, although it's faint. It's indeed the pressure from the bloodline." The white-haired elder looked dignified. Then the two of them looked at the white skeleton carefully. Their tribe guarded the lost place. They had an extraordinary background, and the bloodline power in their bodies was powerful. But now a pile of white bones actually made their hearts palpitate. This situation was too strange. Unless the white bones were also very powerful bloodline warriors when they were alive, and their bloodline power was above theirs. However, they were not happy because the white bones did not have much value. The two of them looked around and checked the situation in the stone cave. Soon, they found a pool of blood in the corner. The blood was black and almost solidified. If one did not pay attention, they would not have noticed it. The two elders walked forward. However, just as they walked to the black blood, the pool of blood suddenly glowed red and filled the entire space. A low cry was heard. The blood rolled in the void and turned into a ferocious blood beast, roaring at the sky. A terrifying and majestic pressure rolled over like angry waves and blasted toward the two elders. "Oh no! Bastard, you're courting death!" The two elders were furious. Then they attacked the void with a terrifying silent void. The two forces collided, causing the entire space to shake. The blood beast roared ferociously, and its body glowed brightly. The surrounding walls reflected a scarlet light as if they were soaked in endless blood, emitting an endless murderous aura. The entire space was filled with the thick smell of blood. Not only that, when the light shone on the white bones, there was a change. The scarlet light gathered in the white bones' eye sockets, forming two pulsating red lights. Then the white bones trembled slightly as if they were about to come back to life. Crack, crack. White bones trembled, then stood up. It held a huge bone knife in its hand, and the aura on its body made people's hair stand on end. The beast-robed young man's face turned pale. He kept retreating, trying to escape. Even Old Man Hui and Old Man Bai were frowning, their faces dark. The Lost Temple was indeed a forbidden place. Just by opening a wall, such a strange and terrifying thing had happened. The aura emitted by the blood fiend in the air and Bai Gu behind him was not any weaker than the two of them. This place was too strange, giving the two of them a bad feeling. The two elders did not want to take the risk. They looked at each other and quickly retreated. This action immediately angered the blood fiend in the air. It let out a furious roar and charged toward the two of them with a terrifying aura. The white bone also turned into a ray of white light and quickly charged towards the two old men. The enormous bone blade in its hand was accompanied by an endless aura as it slashed down with a loud bang. Boom! Bang, bang! The gray and white elders fought as they retreated, striking out terrifying palm and fist shadows. Suddenly, the sound of explosions could be heard from the dark tunnel. Go! In the next moment, Old Man Hui and Old Man Bai grabbed the beast-robed young man and rushed into the sky. They turned into rays of light and ran deeper into the tunnel. The ferocious blood fiend and white bones quickly chased after them. Lin Xian paced back and forth near the group of ghost soldiers. He was cultivating while waiting. At this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and stood up. This was because he sensed four extremely powerful forces rushing towards him at high speed. The crimson dragon beside him jumped up in shock and kept moving away. Damn it! Weren't there only two of them? Why are there four auras now? Kid, who did you offend? Li Xian's face darkened. He snorted coldly. What does it have to do with me? Maybe they're here to suppress you. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon stopped talking. It shrunk its neck and said worriedly, Why don't we go further in? I'm afraid these ghost soldiers won't be able to stop the four of them. Go further in. Lin Xian hesitated. The things that appeared in this place were already too much for him to handle. If he didn't have the great dragon sword soul, he wouldn't be able to avoid these ghost soldiers. He didn't know what dangers there would be if he went further in. If the great dragon sword soul didn't work, he wouldn't be able to escape at all. Therefore, he subconsciously didn't want to go further. In the next moment, 4 rays of light appeared in front of the tunnel. Old Man Hui and Old Man Hui frowned and exclaimed in a low voice. They didn't expect that someone would be here earlier than them. The beast-robed young man exclaimed in surprise, It's you! Ancestors, he's the person I was talking about. Whoosh! Old Man Hui and Old Man Bai landed in the tunnel. They were blocked by a group of ghost soldiers and couldn't move forward at all. They cautiously looked at the ghost soldiers in front of them and then stared at Lin Xian. According to the beast-robed young man, Lin Xian was the last person to come into contact with the great dragon sword soul and the peerless dragon. In other words, he knew where the peerless beast and the great dragon sword soul had gone. Kid, let me ask you, where are the great dragon sword soul and the peerless dragon? The white-haired old man shouted coldly. Hearing that, the crimson dragon shrank its neck and lay on Lin Xian's body, paying attention nervously. Now that he had lost his dragon essence and cultivation, if he was recognized, he definitely wouldn't be able to escape. He might even be captured to be refined into pills. Kid, you can't leave me in the lurch, the crimson dragon exclaimed in a low voice. Lin Xian's expression was slightly cold. Lord Alcohol said that this divine dragon knew a lot and should be able to help him, so he didn't want to hand it over for the time being. Moreover, the beast-robed young man had once wanted to kill him. Lin Xian didn't have a good impression of such an enemy. Moreover, he was the one who had obtained the great dragon sword soul. If the other party knew, he definitely wouldn't let it go. Thinking of this, Lin Xian asked in a deep voice, Do I know you? Hearing this, the 2 elders were stunned and subconsciously said, No, since you don't know me, why should I answer your question? Lin Xian sneered. The 2 of them were stunned and then became angry. Who were they? An ant-like warrior dared to speak to them like this. He was simply courting death. The beast-robed young man snorted. Kid, you're courting death. Hurry up and kowtow and apologize. Tell me the whereabouts of the great dragon sword soul and the peerless beast, and I might leave you with an intact corpse. Otherwise, just wait to have your tendons pulled out and your soul refined. Lin Xian sneered and didn't respond. If he was really forced, he would run into the depths of the palace. He didn't believe that these people would dare to follow him because the Yin soldiers in front of him were already emitting killing intent. That aura was directed at the 2 elders. Seeing Lin Xian's cold smile, the 2 elders flew into a rage. They probed with their large hands and grabbed at Lin Xian. Chapter 547. The white-haired old man stretched out his palm and formed a huge hand that covered the sky, grabbing at Lin Xian. At this moment, the surrounding Yin soldiers all raised their divine spears and pointed them at the sky. Rays of light rushed into the sky and instantly pierced through the huge hand. Although those spears were rusty, the divine light they emitted was incomparably terrifying. Even the void couldn't withstand it. In an instant, it pierced through the white-haired old man's terrifying light palm. The white-haired old man's expression changed, and he suddenly retracted his right hand. The gray-haired old man and the beast-robed young man were even more shocked. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes, but he was ecstatic. The other party was a half-step king, and his strength was incomparably powerful. However, these Een soldiers were too strange. The attack they formed could actually resist a half-step king. At this moment, another shocking roar came from behind, and then two terrifying auras quickly rushed over. Hearing this roar, Lin Xian frowned, and the expressions of the two elders changed drastically. Although they were half-step kings, they were usually arrogant. However, this lost shrine was too strange. Although the Een soldiers in front of them were only at the spirit-detecting realm, they were actually able to contend against them together. Not only that, but the blood fiends and white skeletons behind them were even more terrifying. They were almost on par with them. If these Een soldiers joined forces, they might be suppressed. One had to know that at their level, they didn't have many years left to live. Their cultivation was used to extend their lifespan, so they couldn't afford it. Therefore, the first thought of the two elders was not to fight, but to retreat. However, there were terrifying blood fiends and ferocious white skeletons behind them, so they couldn't leave. They could only break through from the Een soldiers. A terrifying aura soared from the two of them, and they rushed forward like two sharp blades. Among them, the gray-haired old man opened the way and threw out countless fist shadows. Each of them was like a meteor, carrying a huge momentum. The white-haired old man grabbed at Lin Xian again. The two of them were as fast as lightning. In an instant, the terrifying fist shadows condensed into meteorites and smashed towards the Een soldiers. The white-haired old man attacked even more strangely. A hazy palm of light instantly appeared above Lin Xian's head. In an instant, Lin Xian felt the surrounding air shatter, and an irresistible force appeared above him. This was the aura of a half-step king, and it was simply irresistible. Even a venerable would not be able to withstand it. Lin Xian spat out a large mouthful of blood from the impact. He pushed the great dragon sword soul with all his strength, transforming it into a sword light that pierced out diagonally. The great dragon sword soul was an offensive saint technique, and Lin Xian's speed was fast, so he escaped from the range of the light palm in an instant. In the next moment, countless Een soldiers were enraged. Their bodies emitted a monstrous aura that connected together to form a black divine spear that pierced through the void. Behind him, the ferocious blood beast and the white bone devil general were also moving quickly. A blood-colored waterfall hung in the void, and a sea of blood flowed down from above, drowning the entire sky. On the other side, the white bone demon general also raised his huge white bone blade and quickly slashed out. Every move was extremely stunning, causing the void to explode. He actually dodged it. The white-haired old man was astonished. As a half-step king, his aura was enough to kill a spirit-detecting realm martial artist. But he didn't expect the other party to survive. This kid is too strange. The white-haired man was shocked. Then he said to the beast-robed young man, "Go capture that kid." The beast-robed young man was currently being pincered by the Een soldiers, blood beasts, and white bone devil general. He was already scared out of his wits. Now that he heard that the old ancestor wanted him to leave the battlefield and deal with a spirit-detecting realm martial artist, he was extremely happy. Without any hesitation, the beast-robed young man turned into a streak of light. Under the protection of the white-haired old man, he dodged the attacks of the Een soldiers and quickly rushed toward Lin Xian. "Haha, kid, obediently surrender." The beast-robed young man laughed loudly. Last time, if it weren't for the fact that he had to suppress the ferocious beasts, he would have already dealt with the other party. However, it wasn't too late now. The beast-robed young man sneered in his heart. With his skills, he could definitely subdue the other party in one move. At that time, he would use 100 methods to make the other party suffer a fate worse than death. Only then would he be able to vent the resentment in his heart. Thinking of this, he stretched out his finger. On his fingertip, a thick finger light spun rapidly, forming a dazzling light that quickly flew out. Lin Xian had just dodged the white-haired old man's attack and hadn't even calmed down when he saw the sharp finger light flying toward him. Immediately, his face sank and killing intent rose in his heart. The other party was so arrogant. Did they really think he was easy to bully? Looking at the finger light, Lin Xian's heart was calm. He stomped his feet and quickly rushed to the side. Then he stabbed out with the wind shadow sword. The concepts of wind and thunder merged, forming a sword of wind and thunder that quickly slashed down. This sword of wind and thunder was very different from ordinary sword chi. On the tip of the sword, lightning formed a sawtooth that was incomparably sharp. On the outside, there were countless gusts of wind opening the path, increasing the speed and attack power to the extreme. Everywhere it passed, the air was split into two. In an instant, the sword of wind and thunder collided with the finger light and exploded, drowning the entire void. The sword chi that exploded formed an arc that enveloped the surroundings and wrapped around the violent energy. Not a single bit of energy leaked out. In other words, Lin Xian's surroundings weren't affected by any of the energy. He had thought of all these in the instant that he attacked. With the great dragon sword spirit, his attacks had many variations. After the first slash, the second slash came down. This slash had merged with the great success sword essence. It was like a slanted moon that quickly slashed down. This sword light was very pure and very sharp. As the sword light swept past, the surrounding space seemed to be cut open, instantly creating cracks. The terrifying sword light opened up the energy cluster in the center and then quickly rushed toward the beast-robed young man. These movements happened extremely quickly, almost at the same time as the beast-robed young man attacked. Lin Xian's 2 slashes had already landed. How is this possible? The beast-robed young man was shocked. It was unbelievable that his opponent could block his attack. It should be known that a few months ago, Lin Xian couldn't fight back at all when facing his attack. He couldn't even dodge it completely. Now, not only did his opponent dodge his attack, but he even shattered his finger light. Not only that, his opponent still had the ability to continue attacking. The terrifying sword light even made his hair stand on end. Shocking, too shocking. The beast-robed young man was stunned. It had to be known that after entering the spirit-detecting realm, it was very difficult to increase one's strength. Even he couldn't have a clear breakthrough in 3 months. At most, his cultivation would have improved a little. His opponent was a mid-stage spirit-detecting realm brat, but his strength had changed so much in 3 months. If this spread out, it would definitely shock a lot of people. This brat must have some secret on him. Perhaps it was related to the great dragon sword soul. The beast-robed young man's face was gloomy. He couldn't think of any kind of treasure that could make a person undergo such a drastic change in 3 months. After thinking about it, perhaps only the legendary dragon would be able to do so. I must catch him. The beast-robed young man's face was gloomy. Chapter 548. Now that the 2 patriarchs were under the control of a group of Yin soldiers and blood fiends, he had to do it himself. If he was lucky, he might be able to secretly learn some secrets from Lin Xian. In the future, his cultivation might advance by leaps and bounds, and he might even reach the level of the patriarchs. Thinking of this, a hint of madness appeared in his eyes. This was definitely the best opportunity. This was the best opportunity for him to capture Lin Xian. Thinking of this, the young man in the beast-robed roared. His spiritual energy burned like a huge flame, and the surrounding void crackled. 5 rays of finger radiance shot out and streaked across the air, forming a cage that enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His body moved erratically, and countless shadows appeared in the void. At the same time, he stabbed out with the wind shadow sword. Every time, a fine sword chi would pierce through the void and collide with the radiant finger radiance. At the same time, he clenched his left hand and formed a pitch-black sword that floated in the air. Sword of Nirvana. The pitch-black long sword emitted a deathly aura. It was like a sword from hell, and it made one's heart tremble. This sword was originally comprehended from the bloodline of the king, now that it had been executed by the great dragon sword soul. Its power was several times stronger than before. Not only that, but the desolate aura on the long sword had also become more condensed. Lin Xian waved his arm, and the pitch-black sword of Nirvana quickly slashed down toward the young man in the beast-robed clothes. Wherever it passed, a deathly aura was emitted. The entire space was filled with a chill, as if it was about to freeze. In an instant, the young man in the beast-robed clothes looked abnormally ugly. He felt that his body was rapidly losing its functions, as if his life essence was about to be completely drained. What kind of sword technique is this? It's so strange. It can deprive me of my life essence. He was horrified and quickly retreated. Lin Xian held the wind shadow sword in his right hand and shattered the 5 rays of finger radiance. At the same time, he held the sword of Nirvana in his left hand and quickly slashed at the young man in the beast-robed clothes. In an instant, the young man in the beast-robed clothes was no longer as arrogant as before. He jumped continuously and dodged quickly. He could feel that if he was hit by the pitch-black sword, he would lose more than half of his life essence. In this dangerous lost shrine, being seriously injured was equivalent to death. The beast-robed youth clenched his teeth. He was unwilling to give up. He couldn't understand how Lin Xian's strength had suddenly become so fierce. Not even in his dreams could he have imagined this situation. He was at the peak of the spirit-detecting realm and was very powerful, but he didn't expect to be chased by a mid-stage spirit-detecting realm cultivator. Fortunately, there were no other martial artists here. Otherwise, he would have the heart to die. Old Grey and Old Man were in a fierce battle with a group of Een soldiers, blood fiends, and white-bone devil generals. When they saw the young man's condition, they were so angry that their beards curled up. At that moment, they thought their eyes were playing tricks on them. A mid-stage spirit-detecting brat was actually chasing after a martial artist at the peak of the spirit-detecting realm. This was 2F** King ridiculous. Spiritly, what are you doing? Hurry up and use your full strength to take him down. The gray-robed old man shouted angrily. The young man's body trembled when he heard this. He knew that he couldn't hold back any longer. Brat, I didn't expect your strength to rise to such a level. You really surprised me. But let's stop here. I'll let you know what a real powerhouse is. You should be proud to be able to die because of the power of the bloodline. After saying that, the beast-robed young man stopped dodging. He stood in the void, his black hair fluttering behind him. His robe was flapping loudly. His aura was rising continuously. Streaks of blood-red lines filled his body. Behind him, the shadow of a fierce tiger condensed and roared in all directions. At the same time, black and white patterns appeared on his cheeks and arms. Not only that, but his bones and limbs also became thicker. His whole body was filled with a fierce aura. Anyone who has seen my power of the bloodline won't be able to survive. You won't be an exception. Spirit Li's voice was cold. After using the power of the bloodline, he became abnormally fierce and violent. The power of the bloodline? Lin Xian stopped and sneered. He had the great dragon sword soul, so he wasn't afraid of the power of the bloodline at all. Ignorant ant, it seems like you still don't understand the power of the bloodline. Seeing Lin Xian sneer, the young man, Han Li, was annoyed. Then he was filled with murderous aura as his hands made a cross in the air. The air trembled and spiritual energy condensed. The shadow of a white tiger appeared and let out a deafening roar as it pounced on Lin Xian. This power was too strong, and it had already surpassed the limit of the spirit-detecting realm. The young man laughed. This attack was enough to kill an ordinary martial artist at the limit of the spirit-detecting realm. Lin Xian wouldn't be able to withstand it. The tiger roared and shook the air. In an instant, it was in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He held the Nirvana sword and quickly stabbed forward. The pitch-black Nirvana sword emitted the power of death. It was like a sword of death as it quickly streaked across the air. In an instant, it collided with the shadow of the tiger. When the two collided, there was no dazzling light or earth-shattering explosion. When the Nirvana sword came into contact with the shadow of the white tiger, it was as if ice and fire had fused, and a sizzling sound could be heard. The huge shadow of the white tiger dimmed as if its energy had been drained and it was dispirited. However, the Nirvana sword was still emitting a cold, pitch-black light. The aura it emitted caused the shadow of the white tiger to quickly dissipate. Not only that, but the young man's body also trembled. A look of horror appeared in his eyes. In an instant, he felt an unusually cold aura enveloping him, as if it was sucking the energy from his body dry. In an instant, he felt that a lot of his life essence and spiritual energy had been drained. This method was too strange. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly cut off the connection with the shadow of the white tiger. Then, the cold aura of death gradually disappeared. What kind of sword is this? It's so terrifying. The young man was terrified. He realized that he had underestimated Lin Xian. This is the power of your bloodline. Lin Xian sneered. In my eyes, it's worse than trash. Didn't you want to kill me? I want to see how you'll kill me. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He had no enmity with the other party. They didn't even know each other. However, the other party had tried to kill him more than once due to his greed. This made him angry, and he couldn't forgive the other party. Lin Xian was like a god of death. He walked over with the Nirvana sword in hand. You're courting death. The young man was furious. As the peerless genius of the clan, he had been the center of attention since he was young. No one had ever dared to look down on him like this. Now, a martial artist at the middle stage of the spirit-detecting realm dared to treat him like this. He waved his fists, sending out hundreds of fist shadows that condensed into ferocious white tigers. In the end, the entire sky was filled with hundreds and thousands of fist shadows. They were extremely shocking as they bombarded Lin Xian. Chapter 549. Lin Xian was expressionless as he waved the Nirvana sword in his hand. With a cold and deadly force, the white tiger shadows in the air lost their energy quickly. The beast-robed youth seemed to have gone mad as he activated his bloodline power and waved his fists wildly. The white tiger shadows lit up with a faint red glow, and an even more ferocious aura filled the air. The white tiger shadows that were originally dim were instantly replenished. They roared into the sky like the king of beasts, and their spiritual energy was extremely violent. They roared ferociously and pounced on Lin Xian. Although the Nirvana sword was powerful, it was still unable to destroy the white tiger shadows that were stacked with bloodline power. In an instant, Lin Xian was surrounded by countless white tiger shadows. Countless white tiger phantoms that were enhanced by the power of the bloodline pounced on Lin Xian from all directions. Their aura shook the heavens and the earth as they surrounded Lin Xian in an instant. Although the Nirvana sword in Lin Xian's hand was powerful, his opponent's bloodline power was too concentrated and he could not eliminate it immediately. Die, kid. Seeing that his opponent was surrounded by fist shadows, the beast-robed youth, Han Li, laughed loudly. Lin Xian's expression was cold like the god of death. Countless sword auras surrounded the wind shadow sword, forming a blood-red blade and wrapping it up like a blood-red longsword. A shocking, murderous aura emanated from it and swept across the heavens and the earth. Instantly, visible sword ripples formed in the surroundings, and the murderous aura swept across the heavens and the earth. It was like a layer of blood-red ice crystals that made the air cold, and wanted to freeze people. The cold aura caused the surrounding temperature to drop. Streaks of murderous aura formed invisible sword scars that slashed in all directions. Hun Li's expression changed, and he quickly retreated. The murderous aura was so shocking that it made his soul tremble. In the next moment, his expression turned ugly. Lin Xian had exceeded his expectations once again. The blood-red long sword swept in all directions and destroyed the white tiger shadows that covered the heavens and the earth. It was like the winter wind that blew painfully on people's bodies. Sword of slaughter. This move was also comprehended from the blood of a king. It was different from the sword of nirvana, as it was a sword of killing. It was cold and merciless, and it did not hold back. At this moment, Lin Xian was holding the black sword of nirvana in his left hand and the blood-red sword of slaughter in his right. He was like a demon from hell, stunning the beast-robed youth. You! The beast-robed young man's expression was extremely ugly. His opponent's aura made him extremely displeased. It had to be said that the other party was only at the middle stage of the spirit-detecting realm. He could crush this kind of martial artist with a wave of his hand. However, the kid in front of him was abnormal in every way. If you have any last words, hurry up and leave them. Lin Xian's voice was cold, causing the surrounding air to crack. Arrogant, you're courting death. The beast-robed youth was furious. No one had ever dared to speak to him like this. He roared, and the white tiger figure behind him suddenly expanded. He seemed to have turned into a huge tiger demon, tearing everything apart. Lin Xian's expression did not change as he moved his two swords. His killing intent was boundless. The blood-red sword chi was activated and clashed with the black sword chi, forming a cross that quickly rushed forward. Wherever it passed, a dazzling light was formed, and the sword chi surged. The cross sword chi collided with the tiger demon figure. It only paused for a moment before it was cut open, and quickly slashed towards the beast-robed youth. The beast-robed youth was shocked. He quickly summoned the power of his bloodline and formed the tiger demon armor in front of him. It was as if it was made of black gold and silver, shining brightly. The red and black cross sword chi collided with the armor, creating the sound of metal clashing. Then the sound became louder and louder, like a bell, resounding in all directions. The black gold and silver armor cracked and turned into pieces, exposing the beast-robed youth. At this moment, he finally felt fear in his heart, and it quickly spread throughout his body. The young man in front of him was already able to threaten his life. He quickly retreated, his body moving like lightning. However, Lin Xian was even faster. The sword of slaughter, with a monstrous killing intent, enveloped him. No, he screamed in horror. His originally handsome face was distorted beyond recognition. Grand Elder, save me! The beast-robed youth quickly rushed towards the two elders. Puff! He had just escaped halfway when a blood-red sword pierced through his back, piercing through his heart. He felt that his body was hollowed out, and his consciousness was gradually blurring. He was so close to reaching the Grand Elder. As for him, he was forever suspended in the air. There are some people that you can't mess with. Lin Xian's cold voice came from behind him. Good. Hey. He struggled unwillingly. Boom. The sword of slaughter was activated and it killed him. A young genius of a generation had fallen here in the end. If he had not been greedy and wanted to kill Lin Xian, he would not have ended up like this. Bastard, you're courting death. Not far away, the gray-haired old man was furious. The beast-robed youth was his direct descendant, and he was extremely talented and had a lot of room for growth. And now he had been killed by a spirit-detecting realm brat, and it had been done in front of him. This was a slap to his face. With his identity as a half-step king, how could he endure this? With a cold snort, an invisible force surged out of the gray-haired old man's body, crushing the area and enveloping Lin Xian. In an instant, Lin Xian felt his body stiffen, as if it was about to split open. Not good, this is a martial soul attack. Kid, hurry up and use the great dragon sword soul to resist. The Crimson Dragon shouted from behind. After reaching the Venerable Realm, one would condense a martial soul. For example, a swordsman would condense a sword soul. This kind of power was very mysterious and powerful, far surpassing that of a spirit-detecting realm martial artist. This was also the reason why Venerables could become true powerhouses. Not only could they control the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but their soul power would also increase greatly. Moreover, the combination of the two could form a martial soul. The invisible energy wave formed a 2-meter-long black and white demon tiger, and it clawed down. This demon tiger was different from the one formed by the beast-robed youth. The latter was purely condensed from spiritual energy and was very stiff. However, the one formed by the gray-haired old man was very spiritual, as if it was real. Moreover, its power was dozens of times stronger. This kind of attack could instantly kill a group of spirit-detecting realm martial artists. However, he encountered Lin Xian. Lin Xian had the great dragon sword soul, and no other martial soul could compare to it. Although this demon tiger martial soul was powerful, it couldn't withstand a single blow from the great dragon sword soul. Roar! A furious roar came from Lin Xian's body, and the sound waves shook the surroundings. The sound waves gathered and instantly intimidated the demon tiger martial soul. What? The gray-haired old man was shocked. At that moment, his brain went blank. He was a half-step king who had lived for nearly 700 years. He was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. For example, not to mention a spirit-detecting realm martial artist. Even a venerable wouldn't be able to resist the attack just now. However, a mid-stage spirit-detecting realm kid actually blocked it. Moreover, his martial soul was repelled. This was too crazy. This kid must have a great treasure on him. The gray-haired old man quickly recovered from his shock. Then his expression became abnormally gloomy. Chapter 550. In the next moment, his expression became abnormally gloomy. On the side, the white-haired old man was also shocked. Then he frowned as if he had thought of something. That roar just now, could it be the great dragon sword spirit? As soon as this thought appeared in their minds, their hearts began to beat wildly. Then the two old men looked at Lin Xian, their eyes blossoming with a shocking light. Although it was only their guess, and they had not seen the real great dragon sword spirit, there was probably nothing else in this world apart from the great dragon sword spirit that could push back a half-step king martial spirit with a single roar. Otherwise, a mere mid-stage spirit detecting martial spirit would not be able to resist a half-step king martial spirit. Therefore, no matter what, they had to capture Lin Xian. However, while they were in a daze, the malevolent blood fiend and white bone devil general behind them suddenly erupted and launched terrifying attacks. Immediately, the two old men were flustered and hastily dealt with the attacks. The two were unable to break through for the time being, but their gazes towards Lin Xian were abnormally cold. Lin Xian frowned. He naturally knew what these two old men were planning, but he would not let them have their way. Lil, Red, are there any more Een soldiers nearby? Let's release them, Lin Xian said. F***CK, who's Lil Red? Ben Huang is a great divine dragon. The Crimson Dragon jumped up. Please call me Lord Divine Dragon in the future. Lil Red, we're talking business. Lin Xian said in a low voice. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon rolled its eyes and could only helplessly say, There are definitely more, but they're deeper in. Let's go and release them. Lin Xian brought the Crimson Dragon and rushed deeper into the palace. Now that he was being watched by the two old men, he could not leave at all. Only by killing these two old men would he have a chance to escape. Otherwise, it would be difficult to escape. Right now, only these powerful Een soldiers could kill these two old men. He had the great dragon sword spirit and would not be attacked by the Een soldiers. So he made this decision. Otherwise, he would not dare to provoke these strange things, even if he was beaten to death. Sure enough, not long after, Lin Xian saw another sealed door. Without saying a word, he ordered the Crimson Dragon to step forward and break the seal. Not long after, the sealed door began to creak. Then it opened, and another group of Een soldiers walked out. These Een soldiers had powerful auras. They were holding huge bronze battle spears, and their bodies were filled with murderous intent. As soon as they came out, they stared at Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian immediately opened his great dragon sword soul and stood there, not daring to move. When the Een soldiers sensed the aura of the great dragon sword soul, they ignored Lin Xian and began to walk forward. Not long after, they arrived at the place where Elder Grey and Elder White lived. Dozens of bronze sabers were raised, and streaks of dazzling saber radiance slashed into the void. Countless saber lights intertwined, causing the sky to collapse. The two elders were shocked. Their scalps went numb as they roared madly. The Een soldiers in front of them were already difficult to deal with. They did not expect so many more to come. This was undoubtedly asking for their lives. "Kid, when we catch you later, we'll skin you alive and refine your soul. You'll never be reincarnated." The gray-robed elder's voice was like a malicious spirit, filled with endless murderous intent. "Humph, two old dogs. I'll kill you here today." Lin Xian's expression was cold as he stood in the distance and sneered. "Wah, wah, wah." Elder Grey and Elder White screamed madly. The aura on their bodies surged and broke through everything. As peerless powerhouses, they were usually respected by tens of thousands of people. When had they ever been insulted like this? The two of them could not wait to tear Lin Xian apart. However, the Een soldiers in front of them were giving them a headache. "Kid, I'll catch you today, even if I have to use some of my life essence." The gray-haired elder roared. Then an inexplicable aura rose from his body and condensed into a tiger demon behind him. Its shape was so realistic that it looked like a real tiger. Martial soul. This is a martial soul that only venerables have. As soon as the martial soul appeared, it suppressed the entire area. The Een soldiers and ferocious blood fiends were all restless. The gray-haired elder beside him also roared. A goshawk appeared behind him. It flapped its wings as if it was going to tear the 9 heavens apart. Their martial souls were abnormally powerful. Their auras completely suppressed the surrounding area. Previously, they did not use their martial souls in order to preserve their life essence and live a little longer. Now, they were completely furious. They planned to capture Lin Xian at all costs. Next, the two of them attacked ruthlessly. The white tiger martial soul roared ferociously. It pounced with its claws and tore the void in front of it apart. On the other hand, the goshawk martial soul flapped its wings and formed illusory images of goshawks. It then pounced on Lin Xian. It seemed that it wanted to capture Lin Xian alive. The goshawk martial soul was very sharp. It broke through half of the Een soldiers' defense and rushed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. A trace of the dragon sword soul rushed out of his body and forced the goshawk martial soul back. Then he quickly retreated away from the battlefield. "Kid, these two are going crazy. I'm afraid these Een soldiers won't be able to resist them." The Crimson Dragon said worriedly. Half-step kings were extremely terrifying existences. Moreover, the two of them were even more terrifying when they joined forces. These old things are so difficult to deal with. Lin Xian's face was unsightly. Now he could only survive by killing these two old things. Thinking of this, he moved again and ran toward the depths of the palace. This time he decided to release enough Yin soldiers to deal with these two old things. Lin Xian ran all the way. Finally he saw another sealed door. Then the Crimson Dragon quickly cracked it, and the sealed door suddenly opened. An indescribable pressure gushed out and filled the entire space. Lin Xian's body trembled, and he quickly retreated. This time he felt an indescribable pressure. It was as if an aura was about to tear him apart. Fortunately, he had the protection of the great dragon sword spirit. Returning to the corner, Lin Xian frowned and looked at the sealed door. This time, it was not as he had expected. A group of Yin soldiers walked out. There was only one figure in front. However, this figure's aura was stronger than countless Yin soldiers. The figure emitted a cold aura and slowly walked out. At this time, Lin Xian saw the true appearance of the voice. It was a knight riding a war horse and holding a bronze spear. He was tall and straight and had an extraordinary might. However, what was shocking was that this knight did not have a head. A knight without a head. This situation was too strange. However, the Crimson Dragon at the side screamed. This was not a Yin soldier, but a Yin general. A Yin general, from the name, should be more powerful than a Yin soldier. He is indeed more powerful than a Yin soldier because he was a king when he was alive. The Crimson Dragon said, "What, a king?" Lin Xian was shocked. A king was the true overlord of the world. He did not expect that he would be trained into a Yin soldier. He had seen the terror of a half-step king. This king was definitely more powerful than a half-step king. The headless knight rode on his war horse and slowly turned his body to face Lin Xian. Although the knight did not have a head, Lin Xian seemed to be able to sense that there were two pairs of eyes staring at him. Chapter 551. This scene was too strange. A headless person was actually able to see his existence. That being said, with the existence of the Yin soldiers, the other strange occurrences could be explained. Lin Xian's body tensed up and he didn't dare to move. He activated the great dragon sword soul and formed a true dragon mark outside his body. A moment later, the headless horseman coldly turned around and disappeared in a ray of light. "Let's go!" Lin Xian shouted and quickly followed with the Crimson Dragon. In front, after the two elders used their martial souls, they became more and more courageous. They gradually suppressed the Yin soldiers in front and the Blood Fiend and White Bone Demon General behind them. It wouldn't be long before they broke through. At that time, they would be able to capture Lin Xian. No matter how strange a martial artist in the middle stage of the spirit detecting realm was, it was impossible for him to escape from the two of them. However, before they could finish their daydream, a ray of light suddenly appeared from the depths of the palace. Behind it was a monstrous killing intent. The air split open and boundless air rolled on both sides, making rumbling sounds. An extremely cold figure stood in the void, facing Elder Grey and Elder White from a distance. In the next moment, the Yin soldiers below trembled. They quickly put away their weapons and stood to the side. Their actions were very uniform. They were all looking at the sky as if they were worshipping something. Behind them, the Blood Fiend and White Bone Demon General also fell silent. They retreated to the side and coldly watched. The two elders in the middle had dark faces and their hearts sank. They looked at the cold figure in the air and their faces became very ugly. Lin Xian stood at the end of the passage and looked at everything in front of him with a cold smile. When the two elders saw Lin Xian's expression, they were so angry that they stomped their feet and cursed in their hearts. This kid, who they thought of as an ant, had attracted powerful enemies for them time and time again. First it was a group of Yin soldiers, and now it was the strange headless horseman. What shocked them even more was that the headless horseman's aura was even stronger than theirs. It was the aura of a true king. A king was the true overlord of the world. Anyone who was called a king was a peerless expert who could shake the heavens and earth. Once such a figure appeared, it was absolutely capable of causing the heavens and the earth to lose its color. Although the two of them were powerful, they were still far from being comparable to true kings. For a moment, the two of them didn't have any thoughts of fighting. They looked at each other and made up their minds to immediately retreat and break out. At their level, they knew more and more how terrifying king tears were. A casual strike from them could tear apart mountains and rivers and change the color of the sky. They were no match for him. So even if they wanted to capture Lin Xian, they didn't dare to joke around with their lives. In an instant, the two of them turned into streaks of light and sped away. At this moment, the cold figure in the void moved. The headless horseman held a bronze spear in his hand and rode a mighty war horse, charging forward quickly. The spear in his hand danced and tore the void apart. The next moment, the terrifying bronze spear appeared in front of the gray-haired old man and pierced down quickly. What? Impossible! The gray-haired old man abruptly turned around, his eyes filled with shock. He roared angrily, and his aura surged wildly, shaking the void and causing countless cracks to appear. In the next moment, the white tiger martial soul appeared in front of him and roared ferociously, shaking the surroundings. The bronze spear was silent and didn't have any dazzling light. However, it was too powerful and instantly pierced through the white tiger martial soul. Then it stabbed forward in an even more violent manner. Seeing that his white tiger martial soul couldn't even resist for a moment, the gray-haired old man was scared out of his wits. He couldn't care less anymore and activated the power of his bloodline with all his might. Like a stray dog, he quickly fled. He had to escape. Even a powerful move like the white tiger martial soul had been broken in an instant. This meant that the opponent's strength had completely surpassed his. The two of them weren't on the same level at all. However, although the gray-haired old man was fast, the bronze spear was faster. The headless horseman seemed to have locked onto the void. The spear was like a dragon and instantly caught up with the gray-haired old man and pierced through him. Then the headless horseman held the spear in one hand and raised it in midair. The gray-haired old man's face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with endless terror. He struggled with all his might, trying to get rid of the bronze spear. However, no matter how hard he struggled, there seemed to be an invisible force holding him in place. He couldn't escape no matter how hard he tried. Drip, drip. Countless drops of blood dripped from the tip of the spear. Every drop of blood caused the void to explode. This was the power of the bloodline. However, such a terrifying bloodline power couldn't fight back against the headless horseman at all. This was the strength of a king. He could definitely suppress an area. The gray-haired old man was so scared that his whole body trembled. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He abandoned the gray-haired old man and ran outside. However, in the next moment, the green shadow in the void swayed and the spear struck out again. In an instant, the gray-haired old man let out a miserable scream. The void shattered and countless black holes flickered. The entire space was annihilated. Lin Xian stood at the end of the passage and tried his best to look over. Then he was shocked. This was because he saw the headless horseman standing in the void with the bronze spear in his hand raised high. On the spear, the gray-haired old man and the white old man were pierced and hung in the sky. Countless drops of blood splattered and dyed the sky red. This scene was too shocking. A shabby spear had nailed two half-step kings in the void. The gray-haired old man and the white old man were extremely powerful. A drop of their blood could cause the void to explode. However, such powerful warriors were no match for the headless horseman. They couldn't even block a single spear. Is this the strength of a king? Lin Xian clenched his fists. He was shocked. This was a true powerhouse. A casual attack had the power to tear the world apart. He yearned for this kind of power. Lin Xian knew that with the great dragon sword soul, he would be able to reach this level one day. However, he didn't want to wait too long. Therefore, he could only work hard to cultivate and strive to reach the king level as soon as possible. At that time, he could return to the Tianan region and save the Sword Pool Mansion. At that time, he wouldn't be afraid of the Black Dragon sect's leader. He could even destroy the entire Black Dragon sect with a raise of his hand. Thinking of this, Lin Xian clenched his fists. He knew that there was still a long way to go. The headless horseman stared at the gray-haired old man and the white old man in the void. Then he shook his spear and threw the gray-haired old man to the ground. The blood beast in the distance roared and quickly rushed over. It turned into a cloud of blood mist and enveloped the gray-haired old man and the white old man. The gray-haired old man and the white old man were terrified and struggled with all their might. However, the spear just now had caused them to suffer extremely serious injuries. Moreover, there was an even more inexplicable force that was destroying their vitality. The gray-haired old man and the white old man couldn't do anything. They could only watch as the blood mist enveloped them. Chapter 552. Not long after, the two of them let out miserable cries and turned into a pile of bones. A half-step king died in the Lost God Palace, just like that. Even a half-step king couldn't escape. This lost shrine was too strange. Lin Xian didn't dare to stay any longer. He planned to leave this place quickly. Fortunately, he still had the great dragon sword soul, so the headless horseman and the group of ghost soldiers chose to ignore him as if they couldn't see him. Lin Xian turned into a beam of sword light and sped towards the exit. It had been a month since Lin Xian left the lost shrine. In this month, he had been consolidating his cultivation and comprehending the great dragon sword soul. However, in these few days, the lost place had changed again. Traces of spatial cracks appeared in the sky. It was a ghastly sight, and it was a shocking sight. Lin Xian looked at the sky and narrowed his eyes. He knew that the time in the lost place was up, and all the outsiders were about to be teleported out. The disciples of other sects were fine, as they were all received by their sections. However, Lin Xian was different. He was forced to come here from the Tianan region. He didn't know if he would return to the ancient Azure Dragon City in the Tianan region or be teleported to the Sky Martial region. Thinking of this, he frowned. After the Black Dragon Hierarch failed to fight for the great dragon sword soul, it would definitely set off a storm of blood in the Tianan region. If he went back now, it would be the worst-case scenario. However, if the news spread to the Sky Martial region and he was blocked by the 3 6-star sects, the result would probably be even worse than going to the Tianan region, especially the Divine Bird Palace. They would definitely not let him go. The two sides had reached a point where they would fight to the death. There was no way to resolve this. More importantly, Lin Xian still had the great dragon sword soul. If the old monsters of the 3 sects found out, they would definitely go all out. Facing those old monsters who had lived for hundreds or thousands of years, Lin Xian had no confidence at all. Then he began to ask the dark red dragon for a solution. Don't worry, kid. Your whereabouts are not under the control of the 3 major sections. Even if you teleport out, you won't land in front of them. The red divine dragon was very calm. Hearing that, Lin Xian was relieved. The crimson dragon was with him now, so it wouldn't trick him. Otherwise, the other party would also be captured to be refined into pills. More and more warriors were being teleported out of the Lost Lands. Soon, news of Lin Xian spread. The martial artists of the 3 major forces waiting outside were all shocked. In particular, the cultivators of the Divine Bird Palace were so angry that they were trembling all over. More than half of the disciples of their Divine Bird Palace had fallen inside, and the leading monster brother and sister had fallen inside. That was a genius martial artist, and someone who had activated his bloodline. This was undoubtedly a huge loss to them. This was definitely a blatant slap in the face. Apart from the Divine Bird Palace, the other 2 forces did not suffer many casualties. It was obvious that the kid was specifically targeting the Divine Bird Palace. Next, the cultivators of Divine Bird Palace grasped Lin Xian's appearance and aura. Then, everyone exuded a monstrous, murderous aura. Among them was a middle-aged man who was extraordinarily mighty and had a powerful aura. His every move could change the weather. Obviously, this was a venerable and one of the leaders of the Divine Bird Palace. This kid must be caught. The middle-aged man's voice was as cold as ice, drifting in all directions. He had already recognized Lin Xian. Not only did he kill the disciples of the Divine Bird Palace, but he also killed their descendant of the Divine Bird Palace. They would not let such a person go. The other two forces were also shocked. After hearing about Lin Xian's deeds, they felt that the boy was more and more amazing. However, they were mostly gloating. Although they belonged to the three camps, there was also a lot of competition between them. Now that the Divine Bird Palace had suffered heavy losses, it was undoubtedly great news for the other two forces. Where is that kid now? A purple-clothed old man next to him asked. He was also a venerable. This time, the Divine Bird Palace sent a total of 3 venerables to come to their rescue. In addition to the middle-aged man and the purple-clothed old man, there was also an old woman with a walking stick. Her face was as dry as a wrinkled orange peel. These 3 people exuded a biting, cold, murderous aura. Reporting to the 3 elders, that kid is still in the Lost Land. What do you two think? The middle-aged man asked. When he comes out, we'll suppress him directly. The 2 old men's expressions were cold. In the Lost Land, Lin Xian's body glowed. He felt a huge force trying to expel him. He knew that it was finally time for him to leave. The crimson dragon lay on Lin Xue's body, its eyes full of excitement. Next to it, the snow-white monkey rubbed its sleepy eyes. Soon, Lin Xian turned into a ray of light, rushing toward the huge crack in the sky. He's out. The Divine Bird Palace's powerhouses who were waiting outside suddenly looked up at the sky, and a cold smile appeared on their lips. The other 2 forces also watched. They all wanted to see the mysterious boy. Stay. The middle-aged man snorted and waved his palm toward the sky. Suddenly, a huge light palm appeared, covering the sky and the sun, and pressed forward mercilessly. Lin Xian quickly left the Lost Land under the influence of an inexplicable force. However, in the next moment, he felt a surge of power enveloping him, as if it was going to tear him apart. Oh no! His face darkened. Without a doubt, it was the Divine Bird Palace's people. Next to him, the Crimson Dragon was also angry. Damn it! How dare you block Ben Huang's way? You must be tired of living. When Ben Huang recovers his dragon essence, I'll roast you all. However, although he was angry, his hands did not stop moving. Because he was now with Lin Xian, if he was caught and recognized, he would definitely be refined into medicine. Although his dragon essence and cultivation were gone, his knowledge and experience were still there. The dragon waved its claws, forming a strange pattern in the air. It was like a ferocious little dragon, twisting quickly. Soon, a magical array was formed around them. Suddenly, the terrifying aura interference weakened a lot. Below, the Divine Bird Palace's middle-aged man's face darkened. The other experts were also moved. The middle-aged man was a venerable. Logically speaking, it should be easy for him to catch a martial artist in the middle stage of the spirit detecting realm. However, he did not expect his first attempt to fail. Interesting, now I'm more and more curious. What was the background of the little guy inside? On the deity Sword Villa's side, a middle-aged man in white stood. He carried a simple long sword on his back. When he opened and closed his eyes, the sword flashed. Beside him stood Yi Linyun and the other genius disciples of the deity, Sword Villa. At this moment, they were all looking at the sky nervously. On the other side, a beautiful woman in palace attire also raised her head and looked over. Countless rays of light surrounded her body, making her look like a fairy. This beautiful woman in palace dress was the moon embracing pavilion's expert. Behind her stood Yu Qingqing and the others. Among them, Zhao Ziki was so nervous that she clenched her small hands and prayed in her heart. Qingqing, you did the right thing. In the situation at that time, there was no need to be an enemy. The beautiful woman in palace dress said softly. Chapter 553. Fortunately, Yu Qingqing had swallowed her pride. Otherwise, the moon-embracing pavilion would have lost more than half of its martial artists. Hearing this, Yu Qingqing's lips curled into a bitter smile. A portrait appeared in her mind. A young man stood proudly with a long sword in his hand. Genius martial artists gathered around him, but no one dared to fight with him. One man and one sword intimidated the surrounding genius disciples. At that moment, Yu Qingqing could only look up. There was an inexplicable fluctuation in her heart. Since she started practicing martial arts, she had been regarded as a genius and was surrounded by countless dazzling halos. Soon, she surpassed countless disciples and was worshipped by tens of thousands of people. In the same level, there were few who could stand shoulder to shoulder with her. The geniuses of other forces could at most tie with her, but it was difficult for them to defeat her. Therefore, she had never worshipped anyone of the same age as her. However, the appearance of Lin Xian made her heart tremble. There was even a trace of worship in her heart. As soon as this thought came to her mind, Yu Qingqing's cheeks flushed red. She had a cold temperament and did not put men in her eyes. But now, she had an inexplicable feeling for Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian did not know this. At this moment, he was once again in great danger, because in addition to the sky-covering palm, another terrifying attack appeared from the left and right. This time, the three honorables of the divine bird palace attacked together. In the middle was a terrifying palm of light. On both sides were two illusory images of divine birds. They were hundreds of feet tall. They spread their wings and shackled this part of the world. This time, the three joined forces and were determined to take down Lin Xian. The void was in chaos. The terrifying pressure made the surrounding martial artists tremble. This kind of power was too terrifying. Any trace of it could tear them apart. Master, should we save him? Yu Qingqing asked softly. The woman in the palace dress turned back. There was a faint smile in her eyes. Yu Qingqing blushed and hurriedly lowered her head. She did not dare to look directly at her. After that, the woman in the palace dress said in a deep voice, "Let's wait and see." On the other side, the middle-aged man from the deity, Sword Villain, narrowed his eyes. His eyes were shining. No one knew what he was thinking. In the void, the three forces intertwined, causing the world to explode. Huge cracks appeared one after another. Lin Xian received a strong attack and was about to be teleported out of the Lost Lands. If that really happened, he would be completely exposed in front of everyone. At that time, he would have no chance of escaping. Thinking of this, Lin Xian unwillingly roared. He operated the great dragon sword soul with all his strength, and an explosive aura appeared on his body, condensing into the appearance of a true dragon, roaring towards the sky. The crimson dragon was also uncertain. It gritted its teeth and said, "Boy, continue to use the great dragon sword soul. Don't stop. I'm going to use a secret technique." Then the crimson dragon sword emerged with the true dragon phantom in the air. The true dragon's phantom trembled and rapidly transformed, fusing with the crimson dragon to form a giant dragon hundreds of meters long. Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the crimson dragon to have such a secret technique. However, a glimmer of hope rose in his heart, and he worked harder to activate the great dragon sword soul. On his shoulder, the little white monkey, also showed a trace of anger. It floated in the void, and its black, gem-like eyes became incomparably deep. Finally, it formed two vortexes, like a black hole. A terrifying aura appeared, as if an immemorial beast had been resurrected. The black vortex and the true dragon's phantom fought against the energy attacks around them. In the outside world, after the powerhouses of the divine bird palace attacked, a sinister sneer appeared in their eyes. They seemed to have seen the situation after Lin Xian was shaken out. However, in the next moment, the void suddenly exploded. The two divine bird phantoms suddenly flew back, and a giant dragon hundreds of meters long appeared. It roared to the sky, and with a sweep of its tail and claws, it immediately tore the divine bird phantoms apart. What is that? Is that a divine dragon? Everyone was shocked. They all looked at the sky, and a touch of shock appeared in their eyes. The middle-aged swordsman from the deity's sword villa and the woman in the palace dress from the moon pavilion also looked dignified. The three powerhouses of the divine bird palace were even more shocked. A sense of fear rose in their hearts. A divine dragon's phantom had appeared in this place. Was there really a divine dragon here? So what if it is a divine dragon? Our divine bird palace also has a divine bird. The three of them snorted. Then the wings on the middle-aged man's back flapped, forming a huge phantom. It was like two heavenly blades slashing the void. The two elders beside him also joined forces to attack, using their respective martial souls. For a moment, the entire sky was flooded with violent energy. The divine dragon was too terrifying. Every time it attacked, it brought with it monstrous energy, destroying the attack array of the divine bird palace. Hurry up! I can't hold on any longer. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and said, the great dragon, Sword Soul, required too much energy. It was very difficult for him to maintain it with his current strength. If this continued, he was likely to faint. The Crimson Dragon nodded to show that it understood. Then it roared and spat out a huge dragon flame from its mouth. The monstrous flame burned, igniting the sky. The boundless sea of fire spread, and the terrifying heat swept in all directions. At this moment, two black vortexes appeared in the void. Then they formed two black light pillars that flew over. Wherever they passed, the void shattered. The two black light pillars were too terrifying. The aura made the supremacies present tremble from their souls. The attacks of the three powerhouses of the divine bird palace were shattered, and the three of them were also suppressed by the black serpent light pillar. Just as they were in a daze, Lin Xian was taken away by the teleportation power of the lost land and disappeared into the horizon. Not long after, the monstrous dragon flame and the black light pillar also disappeared. At this moment, the three supremacies of the divine bird palace heaved a sigh of relief. Then, their faces became extremely ugly. They quickly attacked and destroyed the sky, but Lin Xian's figure was nowhere to be seen. Ah! The middle-aged man roared crazily. His black hair fluttered, and his body emitted a powerful aura that tore the earth apart. In front of so many people, the three supremacies attacked, but they couldn't stop a martial artist in the middle stage of the spirit-detecting realm. Shameful, too shameful. However, what shocked them was that the little thief had the shadow of a divine dragon and a mysterious powerhouse beside him. Especially the black light pillar, they all trembled. The deity's sword villa and the moon embracing pavilion didn't laugh at the divine bird palace because they were also shocked and couldn't speak for a long time. Go back and report it. Mobilize all forces. We must not let that kid escape. The three powerhouses of the divine bird palace shouted angrily. Suddenly, a terrifying energy rose from the three of them and took away all the disciples of the divine bird palace. The deity's sword villa and the moon embracing pavilion also left. The appearance of such a mysterious youth in the Sky Martial region would probably cause a huge commotion among the younger generation. In this era of martial arts prosperity and geniuses, only through bloody battles could those geniuses truly grow. Chapter 554. In the void, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and stayed awake. On his shoulder, the little white monkey's eyes regained clarity. It rubbed its big eyes and then went into the storage bag to sleep. The crimson dragon was also lying on Lin Xian's body with a listless look on its face. Lin Xian was relieved. He knew that he was temporarily out of danger. This time, the teleportation array in the Lost Land sent Lin Xian to an unfamiliar place. In the endless desert, thousands of miles of the Gobi Desert. From time to time, a hurricane would blow by, blowing up the yellow sand and covering the sky. Suddenly, there was a fluctuation in the void, and then a hole opened like a pocket. Then a figure fell from the black hole. This figure was Lin Xian. He escaped from the 3 venerables of the divine bird palace and was teleported to this place. At this time he was a little weak, so he took a defensive posture as soon as he landed. However, when he found that there was no one around, he was relieved. However, when he saw the scene around him, he was stunned. Yellow sand filled the sky, and strange rocks were everywhere. There were no trees, and it was very desolate. On his body, the crimson dragon also jumped down, looked around, and then howled. "Damn it, where is this place? Birds don't shit, there's not even a shadow." He was very weak after using the secret technique. He originally wanted to find some spiritual fruits and demon beast cores to replenish his strength. However, he didn't expect to be teleported to such a desolate place. Not to mention spiritual fruits, he couldn't even see grass. Lin Xian was also stunned. He had seen mountains, rivers, and bustling cities, but he had never seen such a desert. However, he was glad that there was no one around, so he could recover his strength. After 3 days of recuperation, Lin Xian finally recovered his strength. However, he was still afraid. The after effects of overusing the great dragon sword soul were terrible. He was almost sucked dry. This also reminded him that unless it was absolutely necessary, he must not use the great dragon sword soul more than he could bear. Otherwise, his life essence would be drained dry, and at that time only death would await him. After recovering his strength, Lin Xian started to look around. He did not know where he was, so he wanted to find someone to ask. However, Lin Xian discovered that within a radius of 10,000 miles, there was only the Gobi Desert. There was not a single person to be found. On the other hand, the dark red divine dragon had a gloomy look on its face. It kept trying to persuade Lin Xian to leave this place as soon as possible. Lin Xian had the same idea, so they quickly set off. After summoning Xiao Jin, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon climbed onto Xiao Jin. Little Gold squawked twice, then jumped and ran forward. This place was extremely vast, with yellow sand as far as the eye could see. With a rough look, it seemed that every place was the same. If one was not careful, it was very possible to get lost here. In the desert, there was also a small team moving forward cautiously. Wang Ling was wearing a large white robe that covered his entire body as he walked in the desert. Beside her, there were dozens of martial artist guards wearing white tights. "Miss, we are already close to the depths of the desert. If we go any further, we will reach the center of the desert. It is very dangerous there. You must be careful." Beside Wang Ling, there was an old woman who reminded her in a low voice, "With Grandma Silverflower here, I am very relieved." Wang Ling smiled, then ordered the martial artists to guard around her. "All of you be careful. Once there is a situation, immediately take action. This time, we must find the primordial yang stone. Miss, this old woman will say something unpleasant. Although the primordial yang stone is precious, it is nothing compared to life." Grandma Silverflower said, "This is just a rumor. It is not certain if it really exists. We don't need to take this risk." Hearing this, Wang Ling shook her head. She must obtain the primordial Youngstone. Not only did she need it, if she could sell it, it would definitely fetch a sky-high price. At that time, her status in the family would skyrocket. A few thousand meters away from Wang Ling's team, Lin Xian arrived on Shaojin. With his outstanding soul power, he already knew that there were people ahead. Therefore, he recalled Chick in advance and walked together with the Crimson Dragon. At this time, the Crimson Dragon was very excited. It did not know how it heard the conversation between Wang Ling and the others. When it found out that there was primordial Youngstone here, it was so excited that it almost jumped up. "Kid, you must obtain this primordial Youngstone," the Crimson Dragon said excitedly. Primordial Youngstone contained pure Yuan Qi and life essence. This kind of thing was very rare. It only existed in very special places. The Crimson Dragon did not expect that there would be primordial Youngstone in this desert. It had lost its dragon essence, and its cultivation had dropped. If it had primordial Youngstone, it would be able to replenish its dragon essence. At that time, not only would its cultivation recover a little, it might even be able to condense a trace of dragon essence. This matter was related to its cultivation and life. How could it not be excited? Lin Xian naturally also heard of primordial Youngstone. This kind of stone was also very useful to him. Lin Xian released his soul power and continued to observe the situation. Soon after, his brows slightly wrinkled. These guards were obviously under the command of a young man. That young man was behind Wang Ling. His whole body was covered, and only his eyes were exposed. With his sharp soul power, Lin Xian sensed that there was a deep evil hidden in that gaze. Seeing this gaze, Lin Xian knew that this young guard did not have good intentions. It was very likely that he had designs on the white-robed girl. However, he seemed to have hidden it very well. The white-robed girl did not notice it. If Lin Xian had fused with the great dragon sword soul, his soul power would have been greatly enhanced. Perhaps he would not have noticed the evil in that gaze. Lin Xian did not stop. Instead, he quickly rushed in that direction. Soon, Wang Ling and the others sensed the fluctuation of spiritual energy behind them. Under the command of the young leader, the surrounding dozens of martial artists all turned around and formed a defensive formation, protecting Wang Ling in the center. Grandma Silverflower also had a grave expression as she looked behind her. Soon, a figure appeared in front of them. Grandma Silverflower was slightly stunned, because this figure was simply too young. From the looks of it, he was probably only 17 or 18 years old. However, such a delicate and delicate-looking youth had appeared alone in this desert. This made her even more vigilant. When the young guard saw Lin Xian's cultivation, he immediately revealed a disdainful sneer. A trace of coldness filled his eyes. Although the cultivation of a middle-stage spirit-detecting realm martial artist was not weak, he was like an ant in his eyes. He only needed one move to kill a middle-stage spirit-detecting realm martial artist. Therefore, when facing Lin Xian's arrival, he did not feel nervous at all. However, Grandma Silverflower was very cautious. She took a step forward and blocked in front of Wang Ling. She asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? What is your purpose here?" The Sunset Desert was very dangerous. Normally, martial artists would enter and exit in groups. No one dared to act alone, like this youth in front of her. The other party was either an idiot or a very powerful martial artist. Therefore, she had to be careful. Chapter 555. Little girl, I heard you guys talking about the primordial Youngstone. Do you know where it is? The Crimson Dragon jumped down from Lin Xian's body and circled around as he quickly asked. The moment the voice came out, it gave everyone a fright. Their hearts trembled as they looked forward. They discovered that there was a small red snake beside the youth. and the voice came from that dark red snake. A talking demonic beast. Wang Ling was shocked. The young leader was also shocked. One had to know that even a rank 9 demonic beast might not be able to speak. The small snake in front of them clearly had a terrifying aura. It was impossible for it to be a powerful demonic beast. However, it could actually speak human language. This was simply too shocking. What kind of mutant is this? Everyone was shocked, and the young leader's eyes were burning. However, Grandma Silverflower's suspicions became even more serious. This youth could actually eavesdrop on their conversation, and they didn't even know. In addition to shock, Wang Ling's eyes also had a hint of vigilance. She said in a delicate voice, "I don't know what the primordial yang stone is." There was a trace of coldness in her voice. It was obvious that she didn't want to have too much contact with Lin Xian. The Crimson Dragon was so anxious that he stomped his feet. He wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Lin Xian. "This is my first time here, so I'm very unfamiliar with this place. Can I join you guys?" He was indeed unfamiliar with this place, and he didn't even know if he was still in the Sky Marshal region. Therefore, he urgently needed to find someone to ask. However, Wang Ling quickly shook her head. Wang Ling quickly shook her head, and a trace of displeasure appeared in her eyes. Grandma Silverflower, who was beside her, also said coldly, "We still have things to do. It's really inconvenient to bring a stranger with us." The young leader also shouted, "Kid, if you know what's good for you, then scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." This voice contained a surge of spiritual energy that rolled over, causing the surrounding air to explode. Countless yellow sand flew up, forming a huge whirlwind that swept in all directions. This youth was actually at the peak of the spirit detecting realm. No wonder he could become the leader of these guards. His strength was indeed terrifying. The surrounding guards all pulled out their swords and sabers, and a terrifying aura rose from their bodies. "As you can see, these people don't welcome you, so you should leave," Wang Ling said. Shaking his head, Lin Xian didn't say anything else. Instead, he turned and left. The young leader's strength was on par with Granny Silverflower. Furthermore, he had a group of guards under him. If he wanted to rebel, Grandma Silverflower and the King Spirit would not be able to resist. If Wang Ling agreed to go with Lin Xian, they might be able to avoid a disaster along the way. However, all of this had nothing to do with Lin Xian. He turned around and quickly ran forward, disappearing into the desert in an instant. "Boy, why didn't you continue to ask about the whereabouts of the primordial yang stone?" After leaving those people, the Crimson Dragon shouted in dissatisfaction. "They're on high alert. We can't get anything out of them." Lin Xian shook his head. "So what? With your strength, it shouldn't be difficult to deal with those people. Why don't you capture them and interrogate them? I don't believe that you won't be able to find out the whereabouts of the Yuan Yang stones." The Crimson Dragon snorted. Lin Xian shook his head. He had killed many people. Although he had killed many people, those people all deserved to die. Apart from that, he really hadn't done anything like robbing. Using force to force people he didn't know was something he really couldn't do. "Hey, boy, you're still too inexperienced. In the world of cultivation, this kind of thing is common. If you don't do it, maybe someone else will." The Crimson Dragon had a look of disappointment on its face. "If my cultivation was still here, I wouldn't have wasted my breath. I would have directly searched their souls. This is good. We're running around like headless flies. When will we be able to find the Yuan Yang stones?" The Crimson Dragon sighed and then jumped up. It stared at Lin Xian and asked in a deep voice, "Boy, are you deliberately not asking? You don't want me to get the Yuan Yang stones?" Lin Xian helplessly rubbed his ears. "I say, Little Red, are you too bored? Why don't I find Little White to play with you?" Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon drooped its head. In the past few days, it had quarreled with the little white monkey several times. But when the little white monkey's furry paw came down, it immediately fainted. It was the same every time. There was no accident. In the end, when it saw the little white monkey's paw, it had a shadow in its heart. Without the crimson dragon's noisy voice, Lin Xian sighed in relief. Then he released his soul and explored the surroundings. Since the other party mentioned the Yuanyang stones, and with the attitude just now, Lin Xian was sure that there were Yuanyang stones nearby. Sunset afterglow. The entire desert was covered in a layer of orange light. The red sun emitted its last trace of heat, and then completely sank into the ground. Suddenly, the entire desert became dark. Not only that, countless gusts of wind blew in the surroundings, and the temperature dropped sharply. Lin Xian stopped and didn't want to move forward. Normally, with his cultivation, traveling at night wouldn't be a problem. But in this desert, especially after sunset, he felt that his soul force was suppressed. He could now only sense the surrounding 100 meters. He couldn't sense anything further. This wasn't good news for him. It must be known that he was walking alone in this desert. It was inevitable that he would encounter something. If he couldn't predict it in advance, the result would be very dangerous. In the end, he decided to stay in place and wait until tomorrow morning to move forward again. A bright moon rose, and the cold moonlight sprinkled on the ground. The sand reflected a little bit of silver light. In the latter half of the night, the temperature dropped and the air seemed to be frozen. Even with Lin Xian's cultivation, he still felt the bone-piercing cold. What a strange desert. No wonder those people came in groups. Lin Xian was surprised. It must be known that with his strength, ordinary cold couldn't threaten him. However, the cold air of the desert made him feel uncomfortable. The spiritual energy in his body circulated, and a surging aura filled his body, dispersing the cold air around him. With the protection of his spiritual energy, it was much warmer. Next, Lin Xian began to cultivate and let the crimson dragon stand guard. The cold night passed, and the sun rose, and the temperature rose again. This desert was very strange. The temperature at night was very cold, and it could probably freeze a martial artist of the spirit transformation realm to death. However, the temperature during the day was extremely high, like a furnace. Especially under his feet, it was like flowing lava, and the heat was unbearable. Lin Xian used the golden thunder body to form a solid defense as he walked in the yellow sand. Although the journey was boring, he had a new understanding of cultivation. In the past, he had always been in a state of cultivation and fighting, and his entire body was in a tense state. It was rare for him to be able to calm down and comprehend like now. These few days of walking in the yellow sand had deepened his understanding of martial arts. It could be said that his spirit had been sublimated. 3 days later, he met Wang Ling's team again. Chapter 556. When Wang Ling's group saw Lin Xian, their faces darkened. In their opinion, Lin Xian must have secretly followed them here. This person was so sneaky that he was definitely not a good person. Grandma Silverflower snorted. Very simple, I'll kill him. The young leader's words were filled with killing intent. Forget it. Let's go find the primordial yang stone first. Wang Ling shook his head. If he really dares to follow us again, it won't be too late to make a move then. Fine. Let him live a little longer. Anyway, an ant like him can be dealt with one slash. The young leader snorted, feeling the other's killing intent. Lin Xian sneered in his heart. If the other party really made a move, he wouldn't be lenient. Although he wouldn't look for trouble, he wasn't someone who was afraid of trouble. He even dared to kill people from a 6-star sect, like the Divine Bird Palace, let alone these spirit-detecting realm martial artists. Seeing that those people didn't make a move, Lin Xian silently turned around and continued on his way. At night, the temperature dropped again. It was like 10,000-year-old ice floating in the void. There was a cold aura everywhere, as if it wanted to freeze people into popsicles. Lin Xian sat cross-legged, floating in the void. He circulated all the spirit energy in his body to resist the cold aura. He didn't sit directly on the sand because the yellow sand was too strange. It was like an ice hammer at night, emitting a bone-chilling coldness. Therefore, he chose to float in the void. Not long after, the yellow sand below began to surge, making whooshing sounds like waves. Lin Xian frowned and woke up from his cultivation. He cautiously looked down. Suddenly, the yellow sand below split open, and a black shadow shot out, shining with a cold light and pierced upward. Lin Xian snorted coldly and dodged quickly, easily dodging the attack of the black light. Then he floated in the air and looked down. With his outstanding soul power, he quickly sensed the situation below. It was the tail of a demonic beast. The scales on it were triangular and emitted a cold light. At the tip of the tail, there was a 1-meter-long poisonous needle. There was a purple ore on it. It was obviously poisonous. Lin Xian frowned. That poison needle didn't seem any worse than a high-grade spirit step artifact. At this time, the Crimson Dragon also woke up. He looked down and shouted excitedly, "Kill it! Kill it! The demon crystal is mine!" Below, countless clouds of yellow sand tumbled and then flowed in all directions. A purple poisonous scorpion crawled out from under the yellow sand. Its tail was raised high, and the purple poisonous needle was shining like an awl. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Without any hesitation, he quickly swung his sword. A fine sword light slashed down from above at high speed. This sword light was very light and gentle, as if it did not exist. However, when it neared the scorpion, it suddenly exploded with a sharp aura. The sword light flashed and instantly cut down on the poisonous scorpion. Chi! The scorpion's body trembled and split open from the middle. The split was neat, and its organs and blood spilled out onto the ground. The Crimson Dragon roared and turned into a red ray of light, quickly flying down. It took out a fist-sized demon crystal from the corpse and quickly swallowed it. After killing the poisonous scorpion, Lin Xian did not relax. Instead, his frown deepened. This was because he felt that there was an undercurrent surging under the yellow sand. A few thousand meters away, Wang Ling's team was also nervously looking around. The entire surface of the yellow sand was moving up and down like waves. A terrifying demonic aura came from the depths of the desert and rushed in all directions. Then there was a rustling sound. Countless poisonous scorpions crawled out from the ground. These poisonous scorpions were purple and as big as mountains. The small ones were the size of dogs. They stood on the yellow sand and bathed in the cold moonlight. They covered the mountains and plains and surrounded Wang Ling's team. This scene was too terrifying. Wang Ling's team only had about 20 people, but there were tens of thousands of poisonous scorpions around them. If they were surrounded, there was absolutely no chance of survival. Therefore, in an instant, Grandma Silverflower rushed into the sky with Wang Ling. The young leader also shouted, and a powerful aura erupted from his body as he quickly dodged. The other guards protected the two sides and quickly retreated. All of this happened in an instant. The entire team rushed into the sky quickly. From this point, it could be seen that this team was more experienced. On the yellow sand, the poisonous scorpions bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they quickly rushed into the sky. They emitted a terrifying demonic aura that intertwined to form a huge poisonous scorpion shadow. The poisonous scorpion shadow was 100 feet long and filled the entire sky. With a wave of its huge pincers, it tore the void apart. Its long tail was like a divine whip that swept in all directions. In an instant, the poisonous scorpion shadow's tail swept towards Wang Ling's team in the sky. With a loud bang, the guards in the back row were sent flying, vomiting blood as they were sent flying. The young leader and Grandma Silverflower released a powerful aura that formed a golden defense. It was a shield of strong spiritual power that was half a meter thick. It blocked the huge tail that swept towards them. However, the tail had a strong poisonous aura. When it came into contact with the defense, there was a sizzling sound as if ice and snow were melting in a raging fire. The young leader and Grandma Silverflower were shocked. They quickly waved their palms, and a vast amount of spiritual power surged forward. A resplendent saber gleam slashed across, and a huge palm shadow surged out. Everywhere it passed, sparks flew, and large pieces of scales and white bones fell. The two of them joined forces and resisted the huge tail attack. However, the two of them did not show any joy because the scorpion shadow appeared again. Its huge pincers were like a hammer of death with a mighty aura. Woo-woo! Everywhere it passed, there was a whistling sound in the air. It was as if hell was crying. It was very miserable. When the sound drifted out, the martial artists and guards felt their scalps go numb and their hearts tremble. Everyone attacked frantically and tried their best to escape. Lin Xian was also surrounded by countless poisonous scorpions. However, he appeared to be much calmer and did not panic. He raised his arm and the Nirvana sword surged out. The pitch-black sword slashed downwards. A cold and deathly aura descended like the Grim Reaper and slashed into the group of scorpions. Instantly, a large number of poisonous scorpions were shattered. Those that were not hit were also affected by the Nirvana sword and lost a large amount of life force. The Crimson Dragon waved its dragon claws and collected all the cracked demon crystals below. Then it stuffed them all into its mouth. These things were definitely the best nourishment for it. Lin Xian killed almost 100 poisonous scorpions in an instant. However, even more scorpions swarmed over. The desert shook violently. Groups of poisonous scorpions struggled out of the yellow sand. Densely packed, it was a ghastly sight, causing one to feel fear just by looking at it. This time there were even more poisonous scorpions, and they were even more powerful. The surroundings were filled with purple demonic aura. It formed a poisonous fog that corroded the surroundings. Lin Xian frowned and retreated quickly. The poisonous aura was very strong and could poison a spirit-detecting martial artist. He did not want to be entangled with these scorpions, so he used his movement technique to leave. However, hundreds of purple figures suddenly rushed up from below and charged at him. Chapter 5:57. Lin Xian soared into the sky and quickly left this place. However, dozens of purple figures suddenly burst out from below. Like purple lightning, they quickly rushed into the sky and chased after Lin Xian. Damn, flying scorpions! The Crimson Dragon shouted from the side. Lin Xian turned back with a gloomy expression because there were dozens of 2-meter-long scorpions behind him. They had a pair of wings on their backs and were flying quickly. Their wings were light purple and had purple chi flowing on them. It was very dreamy. The purple wings flapped and instantly rushed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian was surprised. It was his first time seeing winged scorpions. Moreover, he could clearly sense that these scorpions were abnormally powerful, far surpassing the ones below. It seemed that these scorpions were the elites of the mutated Traceless. In an instant, dozens of scorpions flew past and surrounded Lin Xian. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced. Lin Xian's body burst out with a bright light like a small sun. These were all formed by sword chi and were extremely sharp. These sword chi surged out and slashed in all directions, instantly blasting away those pouncing scorpions. Lin Xian did not stay and turned to leave. However, the scorpions behind him surged forward again with purple chi flowing on their bodies. Obviously, the attack just now did not kill them. It only forced them to retreat. Lin Xian's expression was cold as 2 sword chi shot out from his eyes. He snorted and raised his right hand. A blood-red, long sword condensed. Sword of slaughter. As soon as the blood-red long sword appeared, endless killing intent rose in the surroundings. A strong, bloodthirsty killing intent swept through the world. This murderous aura was too strong, causing the surrounding winged scorpions to tremble slightly. They wanted to move, but Lin Xian did not give them a chance. He waved his arm and the sword of slaughter flew out. It was like a blood-red sun, shining in all directions. Countless blood-red sword qi slashed horizontally and slashed the venomous scorpions around, making clanging sounds. Clouds of bloody mist exploded, and those poisonous scorpions that could fly exploded, turning into fragments that fell into the yellow sand and were soon swallowed up by the yellow sand. After dealing with these poison scorpions, Lin Xian turned around and left. During this period, he encountered 2 flying scorpions that chased after him, but they were both dealt with by his sword of slaughter. In the end, blood-red sword marks formed around Lin Xian and floated around him. They emitted a terrifying aura, making him look like an Asura from hell. It wasn't until the latter half of the night that the venomous scorpions stopped chasing after them. Lin Xian put away the sword of slaughter and used the long life secret art. Only then did the blood-red sword ripples around his body disappear. The shocking killing intent on his body also disappeared. After leaving the poisonous scorpions, Lin Xian continued forward. He felt that this desert was too strange. There were many hidden dangers everywhere. If he was not careful, then he might lose his life here. So he planned to find the primordial yang stones and immediately leave. However, he encountered Wang Ling and the others in front of him. However, the other party was no longer as arrogant as before. Instead, they looked battered and exhausted. The number of guards had also decreased by half, and every one of them was wounded. Even the young man and Grandma Silverflower's clothes had been shattered in a flash. On the other hand, Wang Ling was still in good condition, but his little face was pale without a trace of blood. It was obvious that these people had also encountered the poisonous scorpions and had just escaped. At this moment, those people also saw Lin Xian. They were angry at first, but then they were stunned, because Lin Xian's clothes were very clean and tidy, and there was not a trace of injury on his body. He did not look like he had gone through a great battle at all. How is this possible? Did he not encounter the poisonous scorpions? Grandma Silverflower was shocked. It's just luck. The young leader coldly snorted, and a trace of gloominess appeared in his eyes. However, in his opinion, Lin Xian was completely lucky that he did not encounter the poisonous scorpions. Otherwise, a small martial artist at the middle stage of the spirit detecting realm would not have been able to escape from the poisonous scorpions. Lin Xian indifferently glanced at Wang Ling's team. Without any expression, he quickly walked past them. The young leader coldly snorted, and a murderous aura surged from his body. However, this action was stopped by Grandma Silverflower. Her reason was that they had just escaped, and it was not suitable for them to fight. The most important thing now was to quickly rest and recover their strength to deal with what was going to happen next. Count yourself lucky this time. The next time I see you, I will definitely cut you under my blade. The young leader's voice was cold. The night passed and the day arrived. Lin Xian summoned the snow-white little monkey this time and asked it to use the treasure bowl to find the location of the garden sunstone. The snow-white little monkey yawned and took out the shabby little bowl on top of its head. Then, like a little charlatan, it spoke with conviction and danced with joy. The crimson dragon found it funny at the side. Then, as if he had thought of something, he exclaimed, "Could this shabby plate be the treasure bowl?" He was bewildered. He carefully stared at the snow-white little monkey, wanting to figure it out. The snow-white little monkey danced for a while. Then it picked up the little bowl and pointed in a direction, mumbling. Finally, it jumped onto Lin Xian's shoulder and began to command. Lin Xian smiled and handed the snow-white little monkey a few spirit fruits. Then, with a sway of his body, he transformed into a bolt of lightning and disappeared from his original spot. After walking for half a day, Lin Xian suddenly saw a stretch of green trees in front of him. An oasis! His eyes lit up and he increased his speed. The crimson dragon also let out a strange cry and flew over excitedly. In front of him, there was a small oasis with mottled green trees and a crystal-like lake. The crimson dragon dived into the lake and played to its heart's content. Damn it! The wind and sand have been too strong these few days. Benhuang's scales have been dirted. We must wash them properly. The crimson dragon complained incessantly. Lin Xian also smiled. He took out a few containers and began to store water. The snow-white little monkey was also playing by the lake. At the same time, it took out the old bowl again and kept mumbling. Then it let out an excited cry. With the bowl on its head, it ran under a green tree and kept digging. It waved its little claws, and soon it was holding something that looked like ginseng. Its big eyes were squinted into crescents. A top-grade sand ginseng. It's at least 3,000 years old. Seeing this, the crimson dragon rushed over with a swoosh. Now he was sure that this old bowl was definitely the legendary treasure bowl. Otherwise, the snow-white little monkey would not be able to find such a top-grade spirit herb. Even with his experienced eyes, he did not find it just now. This top-grade sand ginseng must have been hidden very deeply. Hee, little monkey, do you want me to exchange it for you? The crimson dragon stood on its 2 feet like a wolf with a big tail. It smiled very wretchedly. It waved its dragon claws and took out a few demon crystals, wanting to exchange it with the snow-white little monkey. However, the snow-white little monkey held the top-grade sand ginseng with a hint of disdain in its eyes. It did not care about the demon crystals in the hands of the crimson dragon. XXXX! The crimson dragon stomped its feet in anger. It was despised by a monkey. Chapter 558. If it was in the past, it would have killed the other party with a single slap. But now it had lost its dragon origin, and its cultivation had been greatly reduced. Moreover, the other party was too strange. It could often slap it unconscious, so it really could not do anything to the little white monkey. The little white monkey did not care about the crimson dragon's bribe. It put away the top-grade sand ginseng and began to draw something with its brush. In the next moment, the crimson dragon's face darkened and became very ugly. It naturally understood the little white monkey's meaning. A monkey the size of a palm wanted to take it as its underling? How could this be? Who was it? He was a member of the Eastern Divine Dragon clan. It was the only one in the world and the leader of all beasts. Although it had lost its dragon origin, it would not recognize a little monkey as its boss. No way. This is not negotiable. The crimson dragon was so angry that it crushed the demon crystal in its hand, swallowed it, and quickly left. Motherf asterisk cur, this is infuriating. The dark, red divine dragon kept thrashing about in the water to vent its anger. Lin Xian found it funny, but he did not stop it. This crimson dragon was too hooligan. Perhaps only the little white monkey could control it. After resting for a while, Lin Xian and the others continued on their journey. This time, the little white monkey jumped onto Lin Xian's shoulder, grabbed his hair, and pointed in a direction. You're saying that the primordial youngstone is nearby? Lin Xian asked. The little white monkey nodded, then pointed in a direction. Not far from the oasis, there was a barren mountain. There were no plants on it, but there were all kinds of strange rocks piled up on it. It was very strange. The little white monkey had led them to this place. According to it, the primordial youngstone was here. Lin Xian put his fingers together, condensed a sword aura, and quickly slashed forward. Boom! The rocks in front of them were split open, and a cave appeared. A warm aura came from there. This aura was different from the heat in the yellow sand. It was very gentle and would not cause harm to the human body. The Crimson Dragon felt this aura and jumped up in shock. This was the aura of the primordial young stone. That's right, it was indeed here. Then he quickly jumped up and rushed over. But not long after, he screamed and flew back. Ouch! Ben Huang is in so much pain. The Crimson Dragon screamed in rage. Just now, it had rushed too fiercely and directly crashed into the restriction. Although its bones were as tough as steel, it still felt a heart-wrenching pain. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes, stroked his chin, and said, "If you can open the restriction, I can give you some primordial yang stones." The Crimson Dragon's eyes lit up. He then patted his chest and said, "It's just a restriction. How can Ben Huang be trapped by it?" "Humph. You have to know that Ben Huang even went to Immortal Palace back then. What does this bit of restriction count for?" It began to shake, quickly breaking through the restrictions. Although the Crimson Dragon was a ruffian and acted arrogantly, it had to be said that it was indeed very capable. It didn't take long for it to completely open the restriction here. Then the earth trembled as if there was an earthquake. Suddenly, a warm aura quickly rushed out and filled the surroundings. Lin Xian looked forward and his pupils shrank at the same time. He couldn't help but take 2 steps forward with a look of shock on his face. After the seal was opened, the pure yang qi below was too strong. He could feel it from far away. The Crimson Dragon shouted excitedly, "Boy, we're rich! We're rich this time!" It's actually a primordial yang stone vein. A primordial yang stone vein. Lin Xian was shocked. One had to know that primordial yang stones were very rare, but he didn't expect that there would be a primordial yang stone vein here. Although the scale wasn't very big, it was enough to shock the world. Moreover, what surprised him was that this primordial yang stone vein was discovered by him. It was an ownerless object, and he could use it alone. This was like picking up a huge treasure. However, the only thing that worried Lin Xian was that when he opened the restriction just now, there was a violent fluctuation that might alarm others. But then he felt relieved. After all, this was a desert and there weren't many people here. But for safety's sake, he decided to quickly search for some. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon had already jumped down. He looked at the primordial yang stones all over the ground, and saliva dripped down from the corners of his mouth. Lin Xian's figure flickered and instantly arrived below. He found that there were 3 kinds of primordial yang stones underground. One of them was the size of a fingernail and had a somewhat mottled color. It was a low-grade primordial yang stone. Another one was the size of a walnut and was a middle-grade primordial yang stone. The best one was the size of a fist and had a round color and exuded a pure aura. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon was crazily plundering the primordial yang stones. Lin Xian's mouth twitched. This Rizalong really dared to take action. It took all the high-grade primordial yang stones and didn't even look at the middle-grade primordial yang stones. Then, Lin Xian's figure flickered and quickly took action. "Ha!" The Crimson Dragon laughed loudly. Its mouth was so wide that it reached its ears. It waved its dragon claws and took a high-grade primordial yang stone every time. "Rich. This time I'm really rich." The Crimson Dragon kept roaring. At this time, a cool breeze blew, and the high-grade primordial yang stones on the ground disappeared. Suddenly, the Crimson Dragon crazily shouted, "Fuck! Goddamn brat, slow down a bit. Leave some for Ben Huang." However, Lin Xian didn't slow down and still moved quickly. The snow-white little monkey was surprised. Then it squinted its eyes and took the small bowl on its head and put it on the ground. Then it waved its little claws. So. All the nearby high-grade primordial yang stones appeared in the small bowl. "Fuck, my primordial yang stones." The Crimson Dragon saw the snow-white little monkey smile, and its lungs were about to explode. Robbers, a group of robbers. The Crimson Dragon's heart was bleeding. It went crazy and moved around the entire mine, just as Lin Xian and the others were collecting the primordial yang stones. Wang Ling's team appeared in the nearby oasis. Grandma Silverflower took out a map and said, "According to the map, the primordial yang stones should be near this oasis. Let's take a rest and then split up to search," Wang Ling said. However, at this time, the young leader's eyebrows twitched. He was puzzled and looked into the distance. Even Grandma Silverflower's expression changed as she revealed a puzzled look. This aura, what a pure yang qi. Could it be the primordial yang stones? Grandma Silverflower was shocked. On the other hand, the young leader's face was filled with joy. He shouted in a low voice and quickly ran into the distance. Then he led the guards and set off. "I guess this is the aura of the primordial yang stones. Let's go and take a look," Grandma Silverflower said. After that, the group of people quickly rushed forward. Soon, they felt that the pure yang qi in front of them was getting denser and denser. Not far ahead, the ground cracked and a few fingernail-sized stones were scattered on the ground. The young leader took the lead. His body flashed, and he picked up the stones on the ground. "Primordial yang stones, ha ha ha. It's really primordial yang stones." The young leader looked up and laughed. Chapter 559. The guards were overjoyed and began to search. Wang Ling walked over with Grandma Silverflower. When she saw this scene, she revealed a gratified smile. "Great, we are rich this time." However, when the young leader heard this, he snorted coldly. "No, you are wrong. It's not us, it's me. It's me who is rich." The young leader's voice had a tinge of malevolence. The guards at the side also had a playful smile. "What do you mean?" Wang Ling asked in a deep voice. At the side, Grandma Silverflower shouted angrily, "How dare you? Are you rebelling?" "Rebelling?" The young leader laughed insolently. "Yes, I am rebelling." Hearing this, Grandma Silverflower's face turned gloomy. She did not expect these guards to rebel at such a crucial moment. Moreover, the one leading the rebellion was the leader of the guards. "Why?" Wang Ling shouted. "Our Wang family has given you a lot." "Why?" The young leader sneered. "Stupid. We followed your Wang family for spiritual stones and resources. Now that we have found the primordial yang stone, what treasures can't we get? Do we still need your Wang family? What a joke!" The young leader's voice was cold with a tinge of ruthlessness. "Aren't you afraid of the Wang family's revenge?" Wang Ling shrieked. "Wang family's revenge?" The young leader sneered. "Do you think the Wang family will know what is happening here in this desert?" Looking at the young leader's malevolent face, Wang Ling was finally afraid. She asked in a trembling voice, "What do you want?" At the side, Grandma Silverflower took a step forward and emitted a powerful aura. "I am warning you not to act recklessly. She is the young miss of the Wang family. Don't worry, young miss. We won't kill you." The young leader laughed, following which a tinge of evil fire appeared in his eyes. "Such a beautiful woman. Of course, we have to enjoy her." After speaking, the surrounding warriors laughed maniacally. Their eyes were filled with lust. Being stared at by so many eyes, Wang Ling's body trembled. She felt her body burning as though she had been seen naked. "Despicable, shameless!" Wang Ling shrieked. "I am despicable and shameless. What can you do to me?" The young leader laughed maniacally. His cultivation was the highest here. He was the heavens. "Listen to me obediently. Once I'm tired of playing, I might even let you go. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." At the end of his speech, his body exuded a powerful aura that contained endless killing intent. Wang Ling retreated in terror. She was only at the mid-stage of the spirit-detecting realm, so she couldn't resist this aura at all. Seeing Wang Ling's terrified expression, the young man laughed maniacally. The saber in his hand shone with a dazzling light, and he quickly slashed out, instantly tearing apart Wang Ling's loose robe. In an instant, Wang Ling's clothes were torn to shreds, revealing a large area of snow-white skin. The eyes of the surrounding warriors lit up like hungry wolves as they stared at the exposed part of his body. Wang Ling screamed in fright and hid behind Grandma Silverflower. On the other hand, Grandma Silverflower snorted coldly. Spiritual energy surged from her entire body and condensed into a silver flower in front of her, which rapidly floated and rotated. "Young mistress, leave quickly. I will stop them," Grandma Silverflower said in a deep voice. Wang Ling nodded, then turned around and left quickly. "You want to leave? It's not that easy. Brothers, capture the little beauty for me," the young leader shouted. Then he waved his saber and slashed at Grandma Silverflower. A great battle was about to break out. The two experts were fighting, and their terrifying auras shook the surroundings. Wang Ling's escape route was blocked, so she could only run forward. Soon, she arrived near the barren mountain in front of her. At this moment, Lin Xian, who was collecting high-grade primordial yang stones in the barren mountain, suddenly changed his expression. His figure flashed, and he instantly appeared outside the cave. Then he looked ahead with a gloomy face. Not far ahead, Wang Ling's clothes were tattered and her body was exposed. She was running toward him with a panicked expression. Behind her were 7 or 8 guards with sabers who were chasing after her. Lin Xian frowned slightly. Everything was as he had expected. He already knew that those guards were up to no good, but he didn't expect it to happen so quickly. "Young hero, save me." Wang Ling saw Lin Xian's figure and immediately shouted. However, the dissatisfaction and disgust in her eyes had long disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a kind of pitiful look. Lin Xian sneered. Not long ago, this woman had arrogantly chased him away. Her attitude was insufferably arrogant, and now the other party was actually asking for his help. This change in attitude was too fast. Moreover, she had 8 martial artists chasing after her. Most of them were at the mid-stage of the spirit-detecting realm, and 3 of them were at the late stage of the spirit-detecting realm. This kind of team could crush any late-stage spirit-detecting realm martial artist. Perhaps only peak spirit-detecting realm martial artists could take them on. Lin Xian's current cultivation was only at the mid-stage of the spirit-detecting realm, but Wang Ling was asking him for help. This was clearly sending him to his death. If it was anyone else, they might have rushed over after seeing her pitiful appearance. However, Lin Xian was different. He was very calm and analyzed the situation clearly in an instant. He was still standing there, not moving at all. Seeing Lin Xian not doing anything, Wang Ling cursed in her heart. However, she knew that only Lin Xian could buy her some time and give her a chance to escape. Therefore, she put on a pitiful expression, and there was even a hint of charm in her eyes. "Young master, save me." Wang Ling arrived beside Lin Xian in a flash. She purposely revealed a large portion of her skin, making her expression even more pitiful. When the people behind saw this, they suddenly felt a ball of fire in their lower abdomens. They wanted nothing more than to take Wang Ling on the spot. They quickly rushed over and surrounded Lin Xian and Wang Ling. One of the late-stage spirit-detecting realm martial artists walked out and shouted, "Brat, this is none of your business. Scram, or I'll kill you too." Lin Xian raised his brows and said, "I don't care about your business. If you want to fight, scram to the side." Hearing this, Wang Ling's heart tightened. The guards in front were furious. A mid-stage spirit detecting realm brat dared to tell them to scram. This was too much. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that there was an extremely pure yang energy coming from the cave behind the brat. There was no need to think. There must be primal yang stones inside. Brothers, go. Capture that girl first. Then kill this brat and take the primal yang stones. The late-stage spirit detecting realm martial artist shouted. Immediately, the surrounding martial artists pulled out their swords and rushed over. Scram! Lin Xian shouted coldly. A sound wave carrying a terrifying energy spread out. It turned into a rolling wave that surged forward. Instantly, the terrifying sound wave sent the guards in front flying. The mid-stage spirit detecting realm martial artists were sent flying while vomiting blood. Among them, 3 late-stage spirit detecting realm martial artists felt their blood boil. Their faces were filled with shock. How is this possible? The guards were terrified. They looked at Lin Xian and trembled. Chapter 560. Their combination was enough to kill any late-stage spirit detecting realm martial artist. But a mid-stage spirit detecting realm brat was able to injure all of them with just a roar. This was too unbelievable. Wang Ling was also shocked. Her eyes were filled with horror. However, she was overjoyed. At least she was safe for the time being. Moreover, with the young leader's temper, he definitely wouldn't let Lin Xian go. If the 2 of them fought, both of them might be injured. At that time, she would cooperate with Grandma Silverflower to kill all of them. Then all the primal yang stones in this cave would be hers. Thinking of this possibility, Wang Ling was excited. The pitiful expression on her face became even more intense. She even secretly tore her clothes to shreds, revealing her alluring figure. As long as she could charm Lin Xian, her plan would be halfway to success. At this moment, another terrifying aura came from behind. 2 rays of light flashed. 2 powerful auras flew over from the distance. With a flash of light, 2 figures landed on the ground. Miss! When Grandma Silverflower saw Wang Ling's tattered clothes, her eyelids twitched. Her figure flashed, and she arrived beside Wang Ling. She looked around vigilantly. On the other side, the young leader's face became gloomy when he saw the guards lying on the ground and wailing. These guards were very powerful. Apart from him, no one would be able to withstand their combined attack. However, these people were lying on the ground, and many of them were seriously injured. He found it hard to accept. "Who injured you?" the young leader asked in a deep voice. Their expressions were ugly as they looked at Lin Xian. However, they couldn't say anything. A mid-stage spirit detecting realm martial artist injured them with just a roar. No one would believe it if they said it. However, the young leader didn't need them to say anything. He knew everything from their expressions. Then, he looked at Lin Xian. His eyes were filled with dense killing intent. "Brat, you dare to injure my people? You're courting death." His voice was cold and shook the void. However, his gaze quickly passed by Lin Xian and looked at the cave behind him. He could feel a dense pure yang energy there. Could it be primal yang stones? The young leader's voice trembled. Then his eyes were filled with excitement. "That's right, primal yang stone. It's definitely primal yang stone. Moreover, the quantity is definitely not small. Otherwise it would be impossible to have such pure yang qi." Grandma Silverflower's face was also filled with shock as she stared at the cave crack not far away. "Ha ha ha ha, I've struck it big this time." The young leader laughed wildly. "Little beauty, I have to thank you this time." He was simply too excited. If he could obtain the primordial yang stones in the cave, then he would definitely become rich overnight. And there was even a chance that his personal wealth would surpass the entire Wang clan. At that time, he could also use this wealth to develop his own family's power and become an overlord. At the thought of this, his entire body became agitated, and an incomparably tyrannical saber qi soared from his body, as if it was about to break through the sky. "All of you will die." This voice contained a cold, killing intent. Obviously, the young leader was determined to kill. He would not let these people leave alive. Otherwise, if others knew that he had so many primordial yang stones, they would definitely face an imminent disaster. One had to know that even supremacies would be envious of primordial yang stones. Wang Ling put on a new robe. She was still standing beside Lin Xian, but in her heart, she was constantly thinking of a way to deal with this situation. She and Grandma Silverflower stood to the side, not saying anything, nor did they have any intention of helping Lin Xian. From the looks of it, she wanted to let Lin Xian and the young leader fight, let both sides suffer, and then reap the benefits. Lin Xian was expressionless as he said indifferently, "I'll give you a chance, either get lost or die." His voice was very calm, without a trace of fluctuation, as if he was talking about a very ordinary matter, but the domineering aura in his voice was unmistakable. Hearing this, the young leader frowned and immediately sneered. "Threatening me with just you? Brat, I think you're tired of living. Don't you know how to write the word death? Fine, today let me teach you what regret is. I'll split you open with a slash and let you know that there are some people you can't provoke. Boss, this brat is very strange, be careful." One of the guards said, "Humph, a bunch of good-for-nothings. I've raised you for nothing." The young leader coldly snorted. "You can't even beat a middle-stage spirit detecting brat. What trash! All of you, come with me now." The guards felt bitter in their hearts, but they didn't dare to disobey the young leader's order, or else their end would be very miserable. These people were holding swords, and their hands were constantly trembling. The long swords in their hands were clattering. Even so, they still didn't dare to make a move against Lin Xian. There was no other way. The scene just now was too shocking. Just a sound wave was enough to injure all 8 of them. This brat's strength was too terrifying, and he wasn't any weaker than the young leader. "Useless trash, get out of my way." "Humph, I'll let you see what true strength is." The young leader coldly snorted, and his aura surged out like a wave, causing the surrounding guards to retreat. In his hand was a huge blue blade. The back of the blade was very wide as 2 palms. Just by looking at it, one could tell that this blade was very heavy. Sure enough, the young leader casually waved it, and it caused the void to buzz as if it couldn't bear it. "One move is enough to deal with you." He was very confident. He raised his right arm, and the snow-white blade emitted a cold aura in the air. Then his arm fell, and a resplendent blade aura rushed out. It turned into a blade aura and quickly slashed forward. Everywhere it passed, the air cracked and the ground sank. It was a terrifying scene. Wang Ling's expression changed drastically, and her face turned pale. She kept retreating. Fortunately, Grandma Silverflower was protecting her, and she formed a silver flower defense to protect her from the blade aura's corrosion. This blade was too stunning. Probably no one below the peak of the spirit detecting realm could block it. The young leader sneered. He could even see the scene of Lin Xian being chopped into pieces by his blade aura. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but laugh. But soon his laughter stopped. It was as if someone was strangling his neck. That arrogant laughter suddenly disappeared in the air. Not only that, his entire face turned red, and it was as if he couldn't breathe. The surrounding martial artists were shocked, and they were dumbfounded. This was because they saw Lin Xian shatter the resplendent blade aura with just one punch. The entire process was smooth, and there wasn't a single pause. It was obvious that Lin Xian's punch was casual. How is this possible? How can you shatter my blade aura? The young leader screamed. He wouldn't believe that Lin Xian could shatter his attack even if he was beaten to death. However, it really happened in front of his eyes, and he couldn't help but believe it. Grandma Silverflower was also shocked, and her body kept trembling. Chapter 561. It was also her first time seeing Lin Xian make a move. She didn't expect this weak youth to have such terrifying strength. Fortunately, she didn't make a move against Wu. Otherwise, the consequences would be terrifying. On the side, Wang Ling's eyes flashed with excitement. Just as she thought, Lin Xian's strength was on par with the young leader. Perhaps he was a little stronger. However, if the two of them fought, both sides would be injured. At that time, they might even perish together. At that time, they would have an absolute advantage because in this battle, other than the young leader and Lin Xian, only Grandma Silverflower's strength had reached the peak of the spirit-detecting realm. At that time, they would be the rulers. On the other side, the young leader also calmed down from his shock. "Good kid, I didn't expect you to hide your strength. Looking at your appearance, your true strength should have reached the peak of the spirit-detecting realm." His expression was grave as he tightly gripped the blue broadsword in his hand. "However, don't think that you can defeat me just like that. That attack was just a casual attack. You being able to shatter it doesn't mean anything. Next, I will let you know my true strength. I will also make you regret being born into this world." At this point, a powerful aura surged from the young leader's body. It was very sharp and slashed in all directions like a heavenly blade. A powerful aura surged from the young leader's body and slashed toward Lin Xian like a heavenly blade. Blade intent. Wang Ling was shocked. This blade intent was too strong, as if it was going to tear the sky apart. Grandma Silverflower also had a grave expression. In the battle just now, she was suppressed by this blade intent. Both of them were late-stage spirit-detecting realm martial artists, and she had been in this realm for decades, far surpassing the young leader. Logically speaking, her battle strength should be stronger, but the opponent's blade intent was too strong. She couldn't withstand it. Now, this terrifying blade intent appeared again and slashed toward Lin Xian. According to Grandma Silverflower's deduction, Lin Xian couldn't block it at all. Blade intent, 70%. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes, and a trace of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. Although the other party's saber intent was incomparably sharp in the eyes of others, in his opinion, it could not withstand a single blow. After all, even Yi Linyan, who had comprehended sword intent to the phenomenal stage, wasn't a match for him, let alone this young leader. Since the other party was courting death, there was nothing he could do. Thus, when the blade aura slashed down, he did not move in the slightest. The surrounding injured cultivators were grinning maliciously. In their opinion, Lin Xian must have been scared silly. Wang Ling cursed in her heart. What a piece of trash. She originally thought that she would be able to contend against the young leader, but she did not expect that she would be so weak. Seeing this scene, she was extremely anxious. One had to know that Lin Xian's battle prowess was a part of her plan, and the current situation was likely to cause her plan to fail. The young leader sneered. His saber intent was extremely tyrannical. Even martial artists of the same level would not dare to forcefully contend against it. It was impossible for a small martial artist at the middle stage of the spirit-detecting realm to withstand his saber intent. "Humph, you still want to fight with me? You're courting death." The young leader snorted coldly, looking at the blade aura that was rapidly approaching him. Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly. Then he slowly reached out his hand and clenched it slightly. This palm seemed slow and casual, but it was extremely fast. Moreover, he was grabbing at the weak point of the saber intent. Therefore, in the next moment, the shocking blade aura suddenly trembled and shattered like a mirror. What? He actually shattered the blade aura. That's impossible. Everyone was stunned. That was a blade aura that was infused with 70% saber intent. It was extremely sharp and could even threaten a martial artist at the peak of the spirit-detecting realm. However, such a powerful attack had been shattered so easily. How did that kid do it? Who is he? The surrounding martial artists were shocked and subconsciously retreated. They no longer dared to look at Lin Xian. Wang Ling was also stunned. She felt her mind go blank and could not breathe. The young leader's pupils constricted. His eyes were filled with shock. He knew the power of this move. With the opponent's strength, it was impossible for him to withstand it. How did he do it? The young leader was extremely puzzled. Then he stomped his foot and quickly rushed over. Blue blade aura! The young leader swung the blue blade in his hand. It formed a dazzling blue blade aura that enveloped Lin Xian. The terrifying saber intent soared into the sky as if it could cut through everything. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He did not intend to waste any more time with his opponent. His body swayed as he used the illusory demon steps. His speed was extremely fast. He put two fingers together and a sword aura flickered on his fingertips. He pointed out with his finger. It was as fast as lightning and as shocking as divine thunder. The green sword aura flashed and cut through the blade aura that filled the sky. Then it pierced into the young leader's throat at an extremely fast speed. So fast! No. Ken. In the next moment, the blade aura and sword aura that filled the sky disappeared. The young leader's body trembled and his pupils gradually dilated. The tyrannical aura on his body was quickly disappearing. There was a finger-sized hole in his throat and blood was flowing out crazily. He stared blankly at Lin Xian before collapsing. Even in death, he did not believe that this middle-stage spirit-detecting realm youth could kill him in one move. Silence. It was terrifyingly quiet. Everyone was dumbstruck. They only regained their senses after a long time. The surrounding martial artists and guards threw away their weapons and knelt on the ground with a plop. Their bodies trembled as they begged for mercy. Wang Ling's heart was beating wildly. Her face was filled with shock as her chest heaved up and down. To be honest, she was truly shocked. Even if she was beaten to death, she would never have thought that this unremarkable youth would have such great strength. If the other party could kill the young leader in one move, then he could also kill Grandma Silverflower. This way, her plan could not be carried out. Grandma Silverflower's eyelids were twitching wildly. She swallowed her saliva with difficulty as her body trembled slightly. She was the strongest here and had the most unique insight. Therefore, she could deeply feel the terror of that sword aura. Although she was very far away, she still felt like she was about to die at that moment. She took a deep breath and did not dare to act rashly. Instead, she said with a trembling voice, "Thank you, young master, for saving my young miss." "All right, the matter has been settled. You can leave now," Lin Xian said indifferently before turning around to leave. "Leave?" Wang Ling was stunned. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness. The cave ahead was definitely filled with primordial yang stones. That was a shocking treasure. However, she was so close but could not obtain anything. Now she even had to leave. How could she be willing to leave? However, Lin Xian's performance had indeed shocked her. She did not have the courage to face such a terrifying enemy. Therefore, Wang Ling bit her lips and revealed a pitiful expression. "Young master, this desert is so dangerous. Are you really not worried about letting me leave alone?" This voice was soft, as if a pair of gentle hands had brushed across his heart. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.